Bases dropped on a new round of SDH AM. Let me add our sponsor element here in design. There we go. Okay, there it is. All right, Thursday thoughts here on SDH AM. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by as you always do. Hour number 2 is the Power Hour. It's going to be Nino and Niko. We've got to get into Copa Argentina. If you missed it last night, I'm sure that will be a topic for Nino coming up at 10 o'clock. We'll take the tour, find out what else is on Nino Damas's mind. 10:30. Probably going more in-depth than we will in hour number 1 with the MLS Cup playoffs, with everything with Seattle and Matchday 3s and things like that. We'll run the gauntlet with Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Heart. That's going to be last half hour of the show. Here in hour number 1, we catch up with Chris Doran, play-by-play voice for the Columbus Crew. We caught up with him before he had to sprint to practice. And so we get the Hell is Real Match Day 3 preview with Chris, and it's always great to catch up with one of the great voices of the game, one of the great gentlemen of the game, too, and catch up with him here in hour number 1 after we get through all the morning news and things like that. So probably 9:30-ish or maybe before, depending on where we are in transitions after opening kickoffs and such. So Chris Doran's going to be joining us in hour number 1. Nino and Niko for the Power Hour in hour number 2. To give you an idea about the rest of the day and the rest of the week. Now, it is going to be, once we're done off the air today, we have a couple of interviews that we're going to be catching up on. So for our friends at AC Boise, and also with our friends in the NPSL with a new franchise in El Paso, it looks like that is going to be this week's episode of The Roots. And so that is going to be taped this afternoon at various points, piecing those interviews together. AC Boise has a new head coach in Nate Miller. We're catching up with him. NPSL franchise now up and running in El Paso. We'll catch up with them and find out what it's like to piece something like this together on both of those fronts. So Boise, Idaho, and El Paso, Texas, those are going to be offline interviews that you can catch on the on our show, The Roots, powered by our friends at Nofo Brewing. That'll be up later this week. Now, also, we're going to be catching up with Kate Ward from the U.S. Women's Deaf National Team. Kate, a local product here from the SDH footprint, and it is going to be an interview about the last dance for a lot of folks with the Deaf National Team as they are heading over to Japan trying to win a 5th World Championship. We're going to catch up with Kate, and we'll have that interview available for you in whole and in part on all of our platforms. As a matter of fact, it might be red clay for this week, considering that Kate is local, and we'll be discussing everything with her. So those are the interviews that we have offline, programming that you can anticipate here on the network as we go. Now, tomorrow, we're stacked. Lucas Panzica from 104.5 The Zone in Nashville is going to be joining us at 9:05 Eastern. We're going to talk about Nashville and Messi and friends. We do have something to discuss involving Nashville and Messi and friends. We'll get into that here in hour number 1. Couple of pieces that are going to be missing. You will not have Luis Suarez in the matchup, and we will let you know why today. We're catching up with Lucas at 9:05 tomorrow about that matchup and some other things and some dead languages. We have to have that discussion because it's more opening kickoffy, and it fits that Lucas is coming in first tomorrow. See if we can catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, and then that will be a part of the conversation as well, if we can catch up with them and find out what's going on. And then at 10 o'clock, Kalen Carr from Apple TV is going to be joining us, and he will be letting you know what's going on in his universe, and we will catch you up with that there with him. Now, 10:30, Will Pelagic's going to be joining us, the play-by-play voice of Charlotte FC, and he will be letting you know what's going on across the board with their series as they get you ready for NYCFC. So that's the rundown for the next 2 days here across the network. And it's going to be a lot of the playoff implications and the matchups and things like that. That's going to be going on here next couple of days, plus the programming that we have for Roots and for Red Clay Soccer Report. That'll be aired this weekend. So we'll be catching you up on all of that stuff. And it was great to catch up with Chris this morning before he had to jet to go to practice. So that's the rundown for the next couple of days. All right. Now, there are things that we've got to get into. The U17s, and I guess this might be opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code. For those of you hanging out with us, you hit that QR code, and then what you do is you start your day with Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Then when you go to the store, we would ask humbly that you buy out the store, because then you can buy out the store and you can at the same time do so with a bit of a discount. If you use the code SoccerDownHere15, you get 15% off your purchase. They in turn take 10%, reinvest it in the youth games, youth initiatives brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, right now, U17s are underway here in day number 4. And they are in the 79th minute. Portugal is having no issues with Morocco. It is 6-0, and that is the game going on FS2 right now. We will definitely be keeping you up to date with all of the things that are there. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm trying to, Ricky, I was trying to see, because it is listed as going to there. So hang on just a second. It's because I keep hitting refresh and I'm trying to find. So let me edit the channels here and we see if it's listed. Okay, so it's listed as going to it says it's not streaming. So I don't know why. It's not streaming. It says it's streaming on the 280, it's streaming on YouTube, but it is not streaming on the Twitch, and I don't know why. So it is that is very odd. Anyway, that is above my pay grade, trying to figure things out. So that's just weird. It says it's going to it, but it says it's not streaming to it. So I don't know. And it says, and obviously it says that it'll be going when it's alleged that it is going that direction. It is going to tell us that we are going there live. So I don't know. It's just weird. So it's not listing that it's going to Twitch. Odd. Okay. Yeah, who knows? So we got stuff to talk about. Okay. Right now, 6-0. Once again, Portugal and Morocco. And so we get into that with the U17s. We'll show you we'll tell you what else is going on after yesterday. And we do have highlights from the U.S. in their first matchup. And it took a while for them to score, but they did end up getting the Duke on day number 3. Czechia over Tajikistan 6-1, Ireland over Panama 4-1, Uzbekistan 2-1 over Paraguay, Austria 1-0 over Saudi Arabia, Mali 3-0 over New Zealand, France 2-0 over Chile, Canada 2-1 over Uganda, and the U.S. gets a win over Burkina Faso. Thank you, Ricky. And so this was that moment that made it 1-0 against Burkina Faso, and the moment stuck, courtesy of our friends at FIFA and FS2.
Control easily gets a touch on the high side, but he did well. Pulling the bear, Sullivan, he scores! He's made such a difference since coming on, and that results in the opening goal. The United States of America 1, Burkina Faso 0.
And that's your goal, and that was the one that mattered, and that's the one that stuck. Kevin Sullivan gets the goal for the U.S., and they go on to beat Burkina Faso 1-0. Now, what's going on today, you ask? Italy's leading Bolivia 3-0 with 10 minutes to go. Portugal up 6 on Morocco, and once again, that's in the 82nd minute on the Big 55. Japan and New Caledonia are goalless in the 55th. Same for Argentina and Tunisia. Fiji and Belgium come up in a half an hour. UAE and Croatia come up in an hour. Qatar, the host nation, is at 10:45 with South Africa, and Senegal and Costa Rica, they go at 10:45 as well. So we'll keep an eye on all of those matchups for you. The next matchup for the United States comes up on the weekend, and it comes up 9:45 on FS2 on Saturday morning as they take on Tajikistan in Group I. And so obviously, we'll let you know about that, and gives us a reason to kind of get up on a Saturday morning. So your lineups yesterday, once again, it was a start for Cooper Sanchez, who went 85 minutes and he was subbed off for Mateo Sekiris when the 1-0 lead was on the board. So stats on the day, obviously attempts and everything heading into the direction of the United States as they got the goal and they got the full points there in their first matchup in Group I. So it was and it's limited stats. So I mean it's Cooper Sanchez. So once again, Cooper Sanchez plays 85 minutes for the U.S. yesterday, and it was a bit of an adventure for the U.S. for a little while, but they end up getting the Duke, and they get the win there in that one. I'm waiting for Saturday for match day number 2 in the U17 tournament in Qatar. So keep an eye on that, and we'll let you know what else is going on there. So like I said, it's just weird that maybe some days our friends at Twitch, they're just going down for maintenance. Okay, so I'll probably end up hitting the refresh button a lot just on premise, just to see if it continues to go. But yeah, sitting here looking at the channels, and it's like it's supposed to be going there, but it's not streaming to it. So who knows? I don't know. It's supposed to be heading that direction, but it's not. So it's on the 280, and it's on the YouTube, and obviously the audio will be up later. Now, that's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, there's your QR code for those of you hanging out with us on 2 of the 3 networks that we traditionally are going to. And so it is on the 280 and on the YouTube. Twitch, don't know what's wrong with you. Somebody probably needs to unplug you and plug you back in. But you're watching, you're listening, however you're doing so, hit the QR code on the screen or go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And then what you do is you buy out the store. You can use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested in the youth games, youth initiatives brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Okay. So what do you want to talk about? I feel like, I probably need to do this just to have it available to us. I probably need to bust out this drop. It's been a while since I've used it. And so, so we'll go ahead and we'll use this drop to start things off this morning.
So what do you guys want to talk about?
I'm thinking that it might be reports that have circled and cycled their way around. And it probably has to do with the idea that there are reports that an individual that has ties to Atlanta United and the touchline might be returning. A couple of different sources have said that Tata Martino may be returning. I have no intel one way or the other, but you have the reports that were out there last night. Some reports are saying that it's a 1-year deal with an option. Some are saying it's just a 2. Nothing, obviously, from Atlanta United in all of this, but the words were that it was close. And so then if you bring Tata back, obviously, with the relationship that he has with Chris Henderson from their time at Messi and Friends down in Fort Lauderdale, then you're on the same page with an individual who's coming in the door. So like I said, that's just being reported. There is nothing concrete. And so we'll find out if there is anything that comes of that going forward. So it is then, and then that was the other thing. Yeah. Then you had the note from, I believe it was Tommy Scoops, that San Jose is not re-upping Joseph Martinez. So that came out last night as well. And, your leading scorer, Bruce Arena, doesn't want Joseph around. So like I said, I have no intel as to the why, but it's apparent that San Jose is not going to be inviting Joseph back to play at PayPal Park next year as a member in the home uni. And so Joseph is in play for whomever wants to bring him in. And Tata Martino looks like he is close when it comes to activity and his next employ. So that's kind of where we are. Like I said, you don't have anything else on the horizon saying that it is concrete one way or the other, but that is, like I said, and if you were to look at any kind of reports, 280s, however you want to phrase it. So apparently it's finalizing a deal is how it is being phrased. And so that's what you're staring at. The club apparently, obviously they were interviewing candidates. They had it down to 6. If you go back to the conversation that Chris Henderson had in his year ender, and then you go and Is it going to be something where he's going to return? You have folks in South America saying that he's coming, once again managing Miggy, and that's what like I said, that's what you're looking at. You have Matias Bustos Mila from TNT in Argentina saying the same thing. And, it was, like I said, I'm trying to find and see if there is anything else that has been posted. So that's why I'm kind of filibustering here a little bit, trying to see if there is any other wording, any other updates. Bustos Mia has 36,400 followers on the 280. And so Tata is negotiating a return, according to Bustos Mila. Obviously, you had folks that were saying that it was a little bit more concrete when it comes to the future and Tata Martino. So that's kind of what you're staring at when it comes to this particular element. And so we'll see what it looks like going forward. And like I said, that news is out there. The Joseph news is out there. There are reports, and the Joseph not being renewed by San Jose, that is that's ironclad. That's out there, not returning. So Joseph is apparently available for anyone that wishes to have him. And now that the discussions are looking at Tata Martino on a possible return, that's kind of where we are. That's literally the latest that we have. That is literally the latest that we have on the whole thing. And so, we wait to see if the phraseology changes from reports to anything more concrete, and we go from there. So that's kind of where we are. Like I said, it's out there that it is a report. Now apparently we're back. Okay, so it is now up and running on the Twitch. So it is now apparently up and running on the Twitch. So there we go. Good morning, David. So now we are up and running on Twitch. So I guess it took a little while for Twitch to wake up this morning. So that's kind of where we are. So let's see. Morning Lady A, who is here. Let's see. There we go. Yes, Abby, you can blame me. Absolutely, you can. You can absolutely blame me. I see zero qualm about blaming me for anything and everything. So that's kind of that's where we at. All right, so let's see. Morning, Abby. Oh, you're Lady A. Okay, so you're Lady A from one place, and now you're coming over on the other side. Yes, and now we're up and running. Got it. All right, so like I said, blame me. That's perfectly fine. That's nothing new. And so that's kind of where we're at. So nothing new. Blame me in technology, but now apparently we are up and running on the Twitch. So we thank you for that. Yes, thank you, Ricky. So morning, Ricky. Morning, Abby. Morning, let's see. And Michael Ruiz is in for the first time in a long time. But yeah, Michael, nothing going on. So Michael's in this morning for the first time in a long time. Good to see you watching us on the YouTubes. Do not be a stranger. Like I said, here in the first hour, we got a conversation with Chris Doran that we've got to catch up with and all of those kinds of things. And so that's kind of where we are. All right. So I'll put that on the table as part of what we need to talk about. The other things that we need to that we ever need to discuss. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So I'll remember that. All right. Got it. All right. So nothing like technology down here. All right. There we go. Other things that we kind of need to bring on so we mentioned the U17s and a couple of other elements. Richie Williams is no longer a part of the New England Revolution organization. He was his contract was not renewed to be the head coach of Revolution 2 starting next year. And when we get into the Champions League discussion, Club Brugge and Barca, the game-winning goal was disallowed. I know a lot of folks are looking at that late foul sitting there going, what happened? That should have been a goal, and Club Brugge should have beaten Barcelona. So we'll get into that on the other end of our conversation with Chris Doran and find out what is going on in Champions League. And we'll get Champions League, Europa League, Europa Conference League, all that stuff. We'll talk about that. We're probably going to go long this morning. I know you're shocked. But there's one other thing that we kind of need to get into, and we'll get into it a little bit more in depth tomorrow with Lucas Panzica for 104.5 The Zone in Nashville. And it was a decision yesterday by Major League Soccer that Luis Suarez was going to get a one-game suspension for this particular action that happened off the ball in match day 2, courtesy of Major League Soccer and Apple TV.
Back, play continues again. Frey trying it with his left. It's blocked by Zimmerman. Messi will get on it. Nahar is down and play was stopped.
I was just going to say, Jake, pardon me for interrupting you, as Ian Frey was going to hit it, there was a little bit of something with Nahar and Suarez out of your picture. Suarez was trying to make this run back post. Now, I felt like Suarez threw, was it his leg out or his arm? It felt like he threw his leg back to kick Andy Nahar. Watch your screen right here. Watch Suarez throw his right leg up. Yeah, absolutely.
So because of that play off the ball, it is now where Luis Suarez is not going to be a part of match day 3. And I know that there was a discussion about Sam Surridge, and it is if you get yellows in 3 matches in a series. That's why Sam Surridge apparently is good to go for match day 3. Luis Suarez, separate from yellow card accumulation. It is, Luis Suarez separate from it. So here's the decision by the disciplinary committee. Disciplinary committee issued the following rulings after game 2. Disco suspends Luis Suarez for 1 match, fined him an undisclosed amount under disciplinary committee parameter number 3 for violent conduct 71st minute of the match against Nashville November 1st, serving as 1 match suspension November 8th during the match against Nashville. Ian Frey was fined for violating league policy regarding simulation and embellishment in the 4th minute of the match on November 1st. And yeah, it was well off the ball when he went down on the surface at Geodis. So those 2 moments. So a fine for Ian Frey and a suspension for Luis Suarez. Disciplinary committee parameter number 3. As I sit here and trying to disciplinary committee parameter number 3. Where is so venue medical director, time substitution? If you sit there and you're going, I'd like to have it go directly to disciplinary committee parameter number 3. But if it's not, so red card, yellow card accumulation, so yellow card accumulation, straight red in the same match, player or team, or let's see. So player or team official who receives a straight red in the same match in which the player or team official previously received a 3rd cumulative yellow, suspended for the players or team's official next MLS Cup playoffs match. And so yellow card regulation time penalty shootout, player or team yellow card game 1, yellow card in game 2, and a yellow and a straight red in the conference semi, suspended for the conference final. So it looks like Sam Surridge is fine. Yellow card accumulation during the playoffs. 3 cumulative yellows is a suspension, not 2. So 3 cumulative yellows. If Sam Surridge gets a yellow in match day 3, Nashville advances. He's not going to be happening for game 1 of the conference semi. So I'd love to know what they're talking about when it comes to disciplinary committee parameter number 3, as I'm sitting here and trying to scan through all the procedures, but it's not giving it to you. So it's not having it go all the way through. Appeals in the independent review panel. Miami did appeal, and they were mad because the appeal was denied. And so I'm going to see if the statement that was given by Messi and friends and by Javier Mascherano specifically made it into all of the let's see, there's that. No. Okay. So it did not make it into a press release. And I'd love to know what disciplinary committee parameter number 3 is, but it doesn't directly go to it when you click on the link. All right. So Inter Miami, Suarez. So let's see if Javier Mascherano's quote is laid out quickly anyway. The statement from Inter Miami and Messi and friends on the suspension. And this is what I wanted to get into before we get into Chris Doran. Inter Miami's received official communication from Major League Soccer regarding the 1-match suspension imposed on our player Luis Suarez for an action that occurred during last Saturday's match in Nashville. The club would like to state the following. Inter Miami accepts and respects the decision made by the MLS Disciplinary Committee. At the same time, the club wishes to express its concern about the precedent set by re-refereeing a play that had already been judged by the match officials in VAR, and its confidence that the same standard will be applied in the future to all on-field situations in any match and involving any team. That's the rub. That's the rub in all of this. That's why I played the audio before we started this discussion and what Inter Miami has said. On the field of play, it was judged it just wasn't judged on the field of play. So in that moment, yes, when we can go back and look at these kinds of things and we can go back and look and watch and all of that. But the larger point here is if there had been a card given for Suarez, if it had been caught, if the play and the action had been caught by Major League Soccer on the field or by VAR, and you go back in during the match and you give Suarez a card, cool. You give him a foul, cool. And then Disco comes in behind and goes, okay, we're going to upgrade that. That's fine. But what you had here, and specifically that's why I wanted to play the audio first, then get into the statement from Messi and Friends front office. What you got here is something that was not called on the field of play, and now you have Disco coming in from behind when a match is over, re-refereeing the moment, and issuing a suspension. That's not cool. Because to the point that was made by the front office, you're re-refereeing at that point. If something's called on the field and Disco upgrades it, fine. That's fine. Because you had it called on the field of play. It was called a foul, given a card, what have you. We've seen stuff upgraded before. But what you have now is a situation where nothing was called. And I'm saying take the fact that what it was what it was. We in hindsight being what it was, we see the play, we know what happened. In the moment, nothing was called. And so now you have Disco coming in from behind. And you have them saying, this was bad. It wasn't called. This was bad. And then you come up with your own judgment after that. You're suspended. That's a dangerous precedent. When you have Disco come in from behind on a play that was not judged, period, to be anything. You know, like I said, 9,000 things going on, whatever. In the moment, it was missed by center ref and by VAR. Nothing happened. Nothing was called. So when you're done with 90 minutes, it doesn't register. Like I said, we saw it, we listened to it, we know what happened. On the field, it wasn't called at the time. Now you have Disco coming in from behind and now acting as judge, jury, and executioner and going, that's a suspension. That's dangerous. That is a dangerous precedent that they're setting. Put a bookmark in this. Put a bookmark in it. And we'll see where it goes from here. But just remember, going forward, if it's a foul, cool. Disco's upgraded in the past. Fines, suspensions, what have you. This wasn't called. And they decided, meaning Disco, to suspend Luis Suarez. I know how folks feel about Messi and Friends. But looking at the rules as they're supposed to be applied, nothing was called. And now you have Disco coming in from behind and saying suspension. Keep an eye on moments like this in Major League Soccer. That's our PSA for this morning. The more you know. I feel like I need that, the comet going across the screen. So just kind of keep an eye on it. See if it happens in the future. But now that this has been set, you got to keep an eye on this stuff. All right. Earlier this morning, we caught up with Chris Doran, the play-by-play voice for Columbus Crew, to get his thoughts on Hell is Real Match Day 2 and get you ready for Hell is Real Match Day 3. Here is our conversation with Chris, one of the great voices of Major League Soccer, one of the great men of Major League Soccer. We caught up with him before he had to head to practice this morning. I got it in just under the wire. Here's our conversation with Chris Doran. Catching up with the busiest man in Columbus, Ohio. Time to catch up with Chris Doran, our friend play-by-play voice for the Columbus Crew as they get ready for Hell is Real Match Day 3. Have you caught your breath after Match Day 2, sir?
Well, John, it's really funny you bring that up. I was telling my wife this morning that I feel like the week has been smashed by a day at least, and maybe the excitement coming out of Sunday night's result kind of moved me into Tuesday, Wednesday morning without even realizing it. But yeah, it truly is time to pivot and take a look at what's going to happen on Saturday.
All right, so let's go back to Match Day 2 a little bit, and we do have a little audio accompaniment to start off the review here. So this was one of those early moments, and we can credit our friends at iHeartRadio on 105.7 FM in Columbus. I think that you might be familiar with this particular call.
Columbus has got to get back into the mojo they had just a moment ago. Andres Herrera, whip ball into the center. Powell is on the run. Rossi is there, leaves it for Arfson. Around the keeper, a shot is a goal for Columbus! The big ball by Andres Herrera up the middle is met by Elvis Powell and Diego Rossi. Powell couldn't keep his feet for like the umpteenth time in this game. And it was Rossi with a toe poke to wide open Max Arfson, who had the audacity to go around a diving Roman Celentano and score the first goal of this match.
Max Arfson, a perfect 10, courtesy of our friends at SofaScore. That started the avalanche, and you had goals on the board from Arfson, and then you follow that up with one 8 minutes later, I believe, if my math is correct. And then you have Dylan Shambaugh scoring on the 41st. It was 2-0 at the break, and then 2 goals 4 minutes apart. Herrera and Jason Russell Rowe, 4-0. Did the result, in a numerical sense, surprise you at the end of 90 minutes?
Yeah, I had done some television Sunday morning, and they pressed me for a result. Of course, we're in Columbus, and I believe in our team, and so I said 3-1 probably. I don't think you can discount the lethal threat that is Evander and Kevin Danke and Brenner and the rest of FC Cincinnati. But man, the home side on Sunday night fed off the energy in the building, and it just was really incredible. It was exactly what MLS said they would do when they changed to this 3-game format in the first round, giving everybody a chance to host at least one game. And Columbus maxed out their opportunity Sunday night.
You look at the numbers across the board for Max statistically, and it ends up with the assist, 2 big chances created, 5 key passes on the night, which is just part of his dynamic. 3 of 5 on crosses, 46 of 52 passing, 88% also in the opposition half. Obviously, 11 of 14 if you use math here to take out what happened in his own half. 1 of 3 on long balls on the day. And you look at how it broke down for him shots-wise. Obviously, the goal on the board, the XG, and now there actually is an XGOT. There are things that I'm learning every single time out. I know about XA, I know about XG, but now apparently there's an XGOT, expected goals on target at a 0.89 with the 1 shot on target as a part of the day. Max Arfson, a perfect 10 on the board, and I will continue to harp on this point. I don't know why people continue to sit there and question national team call-ups, the emphasis that he is as a part of the offense for Wilfred Nancy. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I'm with you, John. And by the way, as long as ex-wife doesn't show up in the stat board at the end of the game, I'm pleased with that.
True.
I don't understand it either. I look at Max, I look at Christian Roldan. I know these guys are American MLS players, but Lord have mercy, they are contributors, and their engine is ongoing, from minute 1 to minute 96. And so it's really hard to overlook it. We knew going into game 2 that wing play was going to be important. I think you and I talked about it last week. Cincinnati did a great job of forcing wing play in the attacking half for Cincinnati in game 1. And that really kept Columbus from getting into some rhythm in terms of switching the ball and moving it from the outside in. So it was imperative that Columbus put their stamp of influence on the match early, and that's exactly what happened. And then, the forced red card. I mean, Yuya Kubo's been in the league for a while. He's smart. He knew Andres Herrera. The two of them played against each other the week before, and yet Yuya got caught and had already had a yellow card, but it was a quick red on the Dogso situation with Andres Herrera. So that really put Cincinnati in a deficit situation. But I will say this. Cincinnati is the number 2 team in the league, John, as you well know, not just in the Eastern Conference. They've got one of the most expensive midfielders in the league in Evander, and one of the most productive offensive attacks all season long in the league. If you're down 2-0 at halftime, you've got 15 and a man. You've got 15 minutes to figure it out.
Yep.
15 minutes for the coaching staff to say, all right, this is what we're going to do. And when they came out of the locker room, as you mentioned, Columbus hit them with 2 more goals in a span of about 5 minutes in the 60th, and it was over. I mean, it was over. So I'm sorry if fans think that this was a fluke because Cincinnati had to go down to 10 men. You learn how to play with 10 men when you're at this point in your professional career. And Cincinnati showed no clue, even after having had 15 minutes in the locker room to figure it out.
Okay, I'm going to put my jaw back in place here and use my first timeout. How many folks thought this was a fluke? That is shocking to me that would be part of the narrative coming out of this. To me, it was a dominant performance across the board. Yes, you take the Yuya Kubo red and you attach it to the storyline and everything, but Echenique, Alvis Powell, they looked like they were chasing shadows at points, and you could use goal number 1 as a part of that. Miles Robinson had to go uber physical at one point, and I think that his elbow that should have been a card before the red for Kubo, that kind of gets you into what they were forced. They thought they had to do defensively to slow Columbus down. People thought that 4 on the board was a fluke.
Okay, I will take back the word fluke.
Okay.
And I think you bring up a really good point. I think the point that I was trying to make, John, was that folks dismiss everything after the red card.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll use dismiss. And so, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't think you can do that.
No.
I think it's irresponsible if you're a coach, and I think it's irresponsible as a player. And as a supporter, I can understand why you'd want to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
But Columbus has got the mojo now, and I think that's the critical piece to this entire puzzle. Cincinnati is trying to figure out how, in this one-game situation, they can get past Columbus. Columbus is going down with a full head of steam. If they come out with 75% of what they came out with on Sunday night, Cincinnati's going to have their hands full on Saturday.
No doubt about it. Chris Doran dropping by before he races off to practice and gives us intel about what's going on with Columbus Crew as they get ready for Matchday 3 and hell is real. One of the other, we had discussed lineup tweaks going into Matchday 2 and what we thought it might look like from a Columbus perspective. One of the players that I want to focus on is someone that we got to see in his time in MLS Next Pro and continues to grow and now making efforts with the first team, and it's Taha Habrun, and seeing how his game is kind of just folding into the larger Borg dynamic that you have there in Columbus. He seems to be just stepping right in and doing what he's asked to do. One of the younger players as a part of that starting 11.
That's a really great point. And Coach Nancy post-game made the point of telling the press that they should be asking him about Taha because Taha's performance was exceptional on Sunday night. Taha, well, you'll forgive Crew fans because we have watched through the academy some incredible talent come through, players who play with the heart of the city inside their chest. And Aiden Morris was one of those guys, albeit he grew up in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He came at a young age to the Columbus Crew Academy, came up through the academy, became a first-team member, and as you know the story, as he went to the Champions League, the championship over in England. We have Sean Zawatsky, who's done the same thing. Taha Habrun is the next guy. He's the next headliner out of the academy who's come through the full cycle and is now a first-team member. We got a really good taste of Taha's heart in a game against Toluca. It was our third game in the League's Cup. We had to win by like 28 in order to advance into the knockout round. And the joy that he played with, and the heart, and the fight, and the I don't care if you're a 32-year-old, 12-year veteran from Liga MX, I'm going to run through you type of attitude was what we saw on Sunday night. And the interesting story is, as I've said, Taha grew up in Columbus. He has seen the Cincinnati franchise come from the USL to the MLS and to that state, and understand the rivalry between the two teams. Taha has scored 6 goals in his entire pro career with the first and second team. 4 of those goals are against FC Cincinnati. So he takes this battle personally, and coach knew that. He fed off that, and he put him in the starting 11. Was it a surprise to start him? Mildly, not a lot, but the outcome was significant. He was fearless in the midfield and up front for Columbus on Sunday.
Full disclosure, because of all of the time that we spend with Atlanta United 2 and doing the broadcasts and going to practice and things like that, all the time that we devote in MLS Next Pro, we get to gravitate toward those talents that we see coming out, from out of town in these matchups. And so when Crew 2 would come to town, you sit there and you go, okay, we got to put a check mark next to this guy. We got to keep an eye on so and so and so and so and so and so. So seeing the progression from someone like Taha Habrun, it's not a surprise, because we've been spending, me and Jason and Maddie and everybody, we've been spending all this time looking at MLS Next Pro players, seeing who's going to be ready for the next level. I mean, you sit there and talk about what's going on with the Revs, with Bayraktarovic and Buck, and what's going. So for us to put a spotlight on someone like Habrun, it was a natural thing for us to sit there and gravitate toward an individual like that, considering we had that knowledge base going in.
I think it's a real gift for us as broadcasters, as journalists, to cover the second team, to keep an eye on the academy when they go to the Adidas Cup, and understand how these players are being developed within a system that they're going to play when they get with the big guys in a year or 2 years, or however long it takes. So what you just described is, I think, next level coverage. You have a great program in Atlanta United's academy, and of course with Atlanta United 2, and to be able to put your finger on a couple of names from opposing teams in those games and identify them as next level players, I think is exceptional.
One other individual I wanted to discuss in the breakdown of Matchday 2 is the Nat at the picnic. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's about right, with Hugo Picard, and seeing what he was able to do on the day. You go through his numbers, and once again, courtesy of our friends at SofaScore, I feel like I have to have that as a lower third. On the day, passing numbers for Hugo, 7.5 in the overall, 0.13 in the XA category, 1 big chance created, 2 key passes, 95% passing at 38 of 40, and 29 of 31 in the opposition half. Looking at 55 touches on the day, he had 1 successful dribble passed. Defensively, got another couple of categories there, had 1 pick, had 1 clear, 5 recoveries, won a ground duel, and had 1 time he was dribbled past. So nothing like having a Nat at a picnic in Hugo Picard and sitting him and having him make the impact too.
Well, I was flattered that you and the guys were listening on Sunday night, John. It warms my heart, and I appreciate that. Hugo Picard has very quietly started 7 games straight. He's missed all but 19 minutes. He's missed only 19 minutes in that 7-game stretch.
Yeah.
And he hasn't registered any goals or assists, which is really interesting, because post-game on Sunday, Wilfried Nancy patted him on the back and told us he told him, the last thing I need you to do is score a goal. Which, after a thorough performance like the one you just outlined, I'd kind of want to just go to the locker room and shower knowing that I did my best. But Coach is asking just a little bit more from Hugo. He played a little smaller, according to the head coach on Sunday night, meaning he crouched just a bit. He stayed a little lower, which kept him from some of the physical battles that maybe he endured in game 1. And going up against the big defenders of Cincinnati, I think you have to kind of be cognizant of anything that gives you the edge, especially a ball handler like Picard. But you saw, Crew Nation sees each and every week how he's able to keep the ball at his feet and redirect things. And I was blown away by that 95% passing accuracy. I mean, Darlington Nagbe finished with 100%. But, for Picard to finish with 95% in the role that he plays upfield is pretty impressive.
What kind of a match are you anticipating other than what we used to? For those of us that grew up watching professional wrestling and still do to a certain extent, are you anticipating another Pier 6 brawl, a battle royal? What kind of a matchup are you anticipating in match day 3?
John, you've seen some rivalries, and I know you watched the escalation of the Atlanta-Miami series last year.
Yeah.
You go into the game, you're kind of respectful. You start to find your spots where you can fight, and then you go ahead and try to go land the knockout punch. Sorry, that's boxing, not wrestling.
All good, brother.
Okay. I think the thing about this 3-game series is that the level of respect, the level of desire to battle continues to escalate. And, I know a lot of people make a big deal out of the Hell is Real Derby. The fact of the matter is, over the last several Hell is Real Derby matchups in the regular season, these games have been very clean. The games have been very clearly fought. You understand what each team is trying to do and how the other team's preventing them from doing it. I have a feeling, though, that Saturday night's game might be a little different. They know each other very well. Cincinnati's backs are up against the wall. The expectations are higher for Cincinnati than they are for Columbus. I mean, I hesitate to say this, but you could seriously close down 2025 after what happened on Sunday night at Lower.com Field, and I think everybody would be just fine. Because and I'm not speaking for the coaches or players, okay? But honest to goodness, it was a complete performance. But the curtain is still open, the stage is lit, and it's still an opportunity to perform on Saturday night. I truly feel like Cincinnati may be watching the curtain guys getting ready to drop the curtain. And Columbus has got everything to play for and nothing to lose. So it's going to create an energy that is unlike the regular season matchups we've seen between these two teams. I don't know what it leads to, whether it's exceptionally physical or if it's exceptionally back and forth. I don't know that any team wants to get into a track meet in this match. I don't know that it'll be as tactically clean as game 1. I don't think it will be as one-sided as game 2 was. And so what's up for game 3 remains to be seen.
And quoting one of the best professional football coaches of all time, Jimmy McGinty, the head coach of the Washington Sentinels.
Very good.
Because there is no tomorrow for you, it makes you very dangerous people. And that's the quote that always sticks with me from that movie.
Well, it's a terrific line. Smarter people than I would come up with something like that. I give them a lot of credit. And it's true. It really is true. So I do know this. I know that none of the Crew players want to see Darlington Nagbe's season end.
No.
And so they're playing every moment for him. They're playing every moment for the badge, and they're playing every moment to prove that they deserve to be here. This team sat in 4th place in the East for much of the summer until August and September arrived, and it was kind of wasn't a crash out, but injuries and that sort of thing just really got to them. This is a 2-7 matchup, but these are two really, really equal teams. And as you said last week, the difference maker may be on the bench in the technical area, the coaches.
Yep, no doubt about it. All right, so if you would please, if my math is correct, 6:12 kicks Saturday night. If we are taking the 12-minute window that has expanded from 8 to 10 to 12 in the postseason for the TV folks, cut the promo for folks and they can listen to you, sir.
Well, we're looking forward to the game. It's a Hell is Real Derby. It is the first time in history that these two teams have played 5 times in a single season. The last time we did that was against Atlanta in 2023.
Yeah.
This time, though, in Game 3, we're on the road. The Columbus Crew face off against Cincinnati. We'll have the pregame show at 5:30. The kickoff at 6:12. We'll be live on iHeartRadio through Columbus Alternative 105.7.
As always, my friend, it's great to see you. Stop talking to me and go to practice, and we will catch up with you on the flip side of all of this next week, and we'll break more stuff down, and we'll try and let everybody know what's going on up there in Columbus. It's always great to see you, my friend. Thanks for dropping by.
John, you're a true gentleman. Thank you very much.
And that is Chris Doran, and that is the rundown for Chris with everything that is going on in Columbus. And so it's always great to catch up with him and find out what's going on when it comes to everything Crew. And we're going to get rid of the second one there because it's like, how about remove? There we go. All right. So, Chris Doran, that's your preview of not Heck is Plausible, but Hell is Real version 3. And so we will tomorrow, once again, like I said, we're going to catch up with Lucas Panzica, 104.5 The Zone tomorrow. And we'll find out what's going on with Nashville and Messi and friends. And Will Pelagic's going to be. So we'll have Lucas at 9:05. And then we'll have Will Pelagic at 10:35 tomorrow talking about Charlotte and NYC. We're good to be able to get Chris Doran in to discuss what's going on with Cincinnati and with Columbus. So there's 3 of the 5. Niko's going to come in at 10:30 and discuss Seattle and the Loons and San Diego and Portland and the other 3 matchups on the weekend. So we'll go through everything with juice boxes and Major League Soccer coming up at 10:30. 10 o'clock, it's going to be our buddy Niko Moreno, Nino Torres. So Niko's at 10:30. Nino's at 10, John. Get it right. You've only had it for like a year and a half. So Nino Torres from GOLTV is at 10. Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports and Sounder at Hearts at 10:30. And so that's the rest of the show today. And obviously, we've got to talk about Champions League from yesterday. We've got to talk about Europa League and Conference League juice boxes. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and get Champions League out of the way. Yesterday, Karabag and Chelsea, 2-2 draw. It was a fun environment. It was a great match to watch on a plus 455. Paphos out of Cyprus gets the win yesterday at a plus 994, 1-0 over Villarreal. Newcastle over Athletic Bilbao at a minus 286, 2-0. Atalanta 1-0 at a plus 216, wins at Marseille. Manchester City put 4 on Dortmund, winning at a minus 278. Inter at a minus 33-33, beat Kairat Almaty 2-1. That was close. Bruges and Barcelona, a 3-3, just absolute back-and-forth fun match to watch. But, yeah, a lot of folks are sitting there and looking at the last goal that Bruges scored, and they're saying, where's the foul? 3-3 draw was the final at a plus 416. Bayer Leverkusen at a plus 285, won at Benfica 1-0. Galatasaray 3-0 at Ajax at a plus 110. We'll probably talk to our buddy Nino Torres about Benfica and what happened yesterday against Bayer Leverkusen. So going into today, if we go into Europa League, we'll blow through those numbers quickly. League phase, we'll just give you favorites. Basel favored at a minus 196 hosting FCSB. Lille on the road, plus 134 at Red Star. Dinamo Zagreb, Celta de Vigo, both at a plus 165. The juice boxes are just like, yeah, whatever. Malmo is a dog at home against Panathinaikos at a plus 154. Midtjylland minus 105 hosting Celtic. Nice and Freiburg, same thing within the margin of error, in and around plus 167 at both sides. Salzburg, a big favorite at home against Go Ahead Eagles at a minus 152. Forest is a minus 169 at Sturm Graz. Porto minus 167 at Utrecht. Aston Villa minus 500 hosting Maccabi Tel Aviv. Betis minus 145 hosting Lyon at a plus 380. Bologna minus 294 hosting Braun. Braga minus 147 hosting Genk. Ferencváros minus 169 hosting Ludogorets Razgrad. PAOK Salonika minus 200 hosting Young Boys. Fenerbahce plus 118 hosting Victoria Pilsen, or at Victoria Pilsen. Roma minus 167 at Rangers. Stuttgart minus 137 hosting Feyenoord. All of those, half of those are at 12:45. The rest are at 3 o'clock. Europa Conference League, just to get into the matchups. And once again, go to Golasso, and they'll cover everything. You got a lot of them at 12:45 and a lot of them at 3 o'clock. Larnaca favored at home against Aberdeen minus 156. AEK Athens minus 833 against Shamrock Rovers. Celje plus 125 hosting Legia Warsaw. Slovan Bratislava plus 121 at KUPS. Mainz plus 121 hosting Fiorentina. Noah minus 105 hosting Sigma Olomouc. Samson Spor minus 714 hosting Hamrun plus 1411. Shakhtar Donetsk minus 526 hosting Breidablik. Sparta Prague minus 122 hosting Rakov Shestakova. Crystal Palace minus 233 hosting AZ Alkmaar. Dinamo Kyiv minus 156 hosting Zhirinsky. Hacken, a dog at home against Strasbourg at a minus 114. Lausanne hosting Omonia at Omonia Cyprus at a minus 103. Rijeka minus 294 at Lincoln Red Imps. We know what happened last time with the Red Imps. SK Rapid Vienna at a minus 108. and they are hosting Universitat Craiova. Raja Vallecano -179 hosting Lech Poznan. Shelburne -156 hosting Drita. Shkengia is a dog at home against Jagiellonia Białystok at a -122. Once again, most of those are half of those are at 12:45. Half of them are at 3 o'clock. Just go to Golazo, go to Paramount Plus. You can catch up on all those things, and you can get lined up with everything going on involving Major League Soccer, with everything going on involving Europa League, Europa Conference League, and everything that happened yesterday involving all of the things that were attached to Champions League and all of the other elements that are going on in European football, since it is time for match compression when it comes to anything and everything in the world of European football. Trying to squeeze in anything and everything going on attached to it all. So that's the whole thing that is attached and laid out there. So that is your rundown. We're waiting for our buddy Nino Torres to come in and join us here at 10 o'clock. Once again, Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports, and Sounder at Heart joining us at 10:30. We'll go over everything going on in Major League Soccer and all the playoff matchups. Like I said, it was great to catch up with Chris Doran and find out what's on his mind as they're getting ready for Hell is Real Matchday 3. And that is, once again, the middle game of all of the matchups on Saturday. It's 1 on Friday night, 3 on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. And then it is 4 o'clock, or technically 4:12, 6:12, 8:12. Minnesota, Seattle, Cincinnati, Columbus, Miami at the Erector Set, Messi and Friends hosting Nashville. And then Sunday night soccer, 9 o'clock at the Murph Dragon. It is Portland and San Diego. That one is at 9:12. So 12 minutes, whatever they say the start time is, add time. Add time. So that's kind of where we are. So just add the time as we go. Let's bring in our buddy Nino Torres as we go fully loaded. And now I want to start things off with you with a yellow. We have to do that to start things off.
Yes, sir. Yellow. It is. I was going to say 2 on Tuesdays, but no. This is like, on Thursdays, man. Way too many podcasts for me, man. It's crazy. But thank you for having me, Johnny, man.
As always. Last night, we were watching the Copa Argentina, and it was let's just say it was interesting, especially with what happened. Independiente Rivadavia gets the Duke. Big win for them in history, but the chaos that was attached to it, listed as a histórico. Independiente Rivadavia, campeón de la Copa Argentina, and you finish up with, I think you finished up with 9 on a side. You end up with a coach getting stepped on, but we didn't know that at the time, and causing all of this chaos. Dude got stepped on the way by, and then he wants to bow up to the player as the opposing player is trying to push him away and everything, and it ends up. And there were some, and I can't even repeat what the coach told the man in the middle, because that was some choice words there. But history for Independiente Rivadavia.
Yeah, it was insane. It was insane. It's just part of the folklore in Argentina, and it was crazy when the guy said this. The coach for Rivadavia said, when I arrived to the team, we were staying in 4-star hotels, and brother, we're not like that. We're not that kind of people. We're blue collar people. So I decided the guys said, we're not going to stay on the 4-star hotels because we were not born in Sheraton. Okay, we were born in the outside of the city. All right, we're from the hood, brother. All right, we're from the hood. So I'm going to bring you back. All right, I'm going to get you get the feeling again of what's to be like a real blue collar player. And so he got all the players staying at the club, right? They got beds in there, they got dorms in the club, so they staying in there with these young kids that are coming from different places in Argentina to play for Independiente. And I think that's what he said, right? That's the story that he said. That's what they create this impact and bring all this DNA for Independiente Rivadavia to get back in track and to leave all the luxuries aside and focus, on the goal. and that's how they got it. I mean, that's one of the keys of this trophy for Independiente Rivadavia. That I'm gonna you go for the topics, but there's some outcomes out of this title. You might read that first, the first topic, Johnny. What is it? What does he say? Tell me.
It says Rivadavia's title kept the Big Five away from a trophy in Argentina.
Out of the last 9 tournaments in Argentina, Apertura, Clausura, Apertura, Clausura, Apertura, Clausura, you got the 2 copas in between. No River, no Boca, no San Lorenzo, no Independiente, no Racing. Okay, so this is the we got a lot of criticism on Chiquitapia, okay, because the no relegation thing, Barraca Central getting away with lots of perks, right? But in the end, it cannot bring democracy to Argentina soccer in a way, okay? Because now it's not like River wins one, Boca wins another one, then Racing wins, no. You got the Potencias of the world. You got the Independiente Rivadavias of the world. Vélez, I'm going to say, is not. I'm going to say Vélez might be at Big 6 in Argentina. But will be an argument in there because they won championships. They won Copa Libertadores. So I want to squeeze in Vélez in the conversation of the big clubs in Argentina. But this for me is great. It's great because you see the element. We always complain about the lack of competitiveness. Competitiveness. And this is what this tournament brings to Argentina, bringing the League Cup and the tournament playing together, because in one tournament you play everyone against everyone, and then in the Copa it's different. You got only the clubs or the teams from one group, and you're not messing with the other side. So these different routes to the final, and that is what brings this tournament to be more exciting.
All right, let's go to Portugal. You got a couple of Portuguese topics. I'll kind of combine them here a little bit. Forget about Porto and Benfica. Gil Vicente is the new sensation in Portugal, and then you have Scaloni, Benfica, the Argentina connection. Hit me,
brother. Gil Vicente. I don't know why, since I'm calling the league in 2019, I don't know why I make this feeling for Gil Vicente. In Ciudad de Barcelos, every time that the big clubs are going there, that's what I'm calling this stadium the Elephants Graveyard, because all the big guys going in there and they can win. They can win. But this season, they brought in Cesar Peixoto, which is such a smart coach. I mean, a brilliant coach, this Portuguese guy. And he made a fantastic campaign with Moreirense. And then I don't know why he lost his job. Who knows why? Now Moreirense got a different team, a different coach, and they're not doing that well. But Peixoto, put all the pieces together, and now they're number 5. They're top 5 in Portugal. Gil Vicente never been top 5 in Portugal. Let that alongside with this. They won 6 in a row, Johnny. They won 6 games in a row. And they haven't conceded a goal in the last 6 games. The only team that scored against Gil Vicente in Barcelos was Porto. No one else. Clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet. And all the eyes are on Cesar Peixoto now. The big problem for Gil Vicente is that in December, usually, most of the times, almost all the time, when a coach like this steps up, there's another team that's coming after him mid-season. In January, usually, hey, Peixoto's doing great. Come over here. Come to Moreirense. Come to Vitória Guimarães. If they're not doing so well, there might be a possibility that he might be leaving by the end of the year, not at the end of the season. That'll be a shame, because I think Peixoto will take this team into the Europa League for the first time ever in Gil Vicente. And they have, on top of that, they have the leading striker of the competition with Pablito. 8 goals alongside with Pavlidis, man. I'm so happy for Gilson.
All right. We've been waiting for this. I'm going to go ahead and hit it. It is official. From Atlanta United, their own selves. Atlanta United names Gerardo Tata Martino as head coach. Leader of the club's historic launch returns, bringing more than 25 years of managing experience at the highest levels of club and international soccer. He has a contract through the 2027 season, returns after he led the club to one of the greatest launches in the league, MLS Cup in 2018. And quote from Arthur M. Blank, owner and chairman, Blank Family of Businesses. We are thrilled to welcome Tata back to Atlanta United. Obviously, he's going to report to Chief Soccer Officer and Sporting Director Chris Henderson. Tata is an exceptional manager who set the standard for excellence within our club and helped establish our identity in Major League Soccer. Since then, he has continued to achieve success on the global stage. There's a lot of work to do for us to get back to championship form. This moment is not about revisiting the past, but about looking ahead and building a new foundation while embracing the continuing evolution of what it takes to contend in MLS on a regular basis. Tata is a steward of our club's values with a proven leadership record, and he carries a championship mindset to everything he does. We're excited for the future of Atlanta United with Tata back at the helm, end quote. Quote from Chris Henderson. The further along we went in our coaching search, the clearer it became that Tata is the best candidate to lead Atlanta United to the standard of excellence our fans deserve, a standard that he helped create. Tata's teams have a clear identity, and his playing style and leadership qualities align with our club's values. His success, along with his understanding of our league, is well established, and we look forward to welcoming him back to Atlanta. Quote from Tata, I want to thank Arthur and Chris for the opportunity to return to the club and a city where we hold wonderful memories and maintain great relationships. This is a different project than my first stint with the club. However, with great ownership and the collaboration of the players, coaching staff, and everyone at the club, our objective will always be to form a winning team that makes our fans feel proud and well represented every time that they go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, end quote. Tata is back as head coach for Atlanta United.
All right, that's a great news, Johnny. Huh? Great news. Tata Martino back. You know, such a that is massive, huh? That is massive news for Atlanta. And just one season, he says only, or it's a two seasons
through the
right?
27. So right now the contract is through the 27.
To the 27, man. So what are you guys expecting now? What are you guys expecting? How's the news? Are feeling in Atlanta? Are you guys happy? You're not happy?
Look at the Twitch pitch, Nino. They have lit up, and it is they are. I think the kids call it hype. I think that's
yeah. That's all the hype about it, brother.
Yeah,
of course.
The kids are hype, and now it's bringing Tata Martino back. Obviously, the relationship with Chris Henderson and their relationship at Messi and Friends down in Fort Lauderdale. There's already the base of knowledge that is there with those two. But this is going to be a build. I mean, this is going to be where you have a team that has not met its own standard, and you are at the bottom of the standings in the Eastern Conference, and you now are bringing in Tata Martino to be at the helm of the ship once again. There are going to be a lot of decisions that have to be made when it comes to personnel, and it will be if you thought the off season was
Jerry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just checking because I just turned the speakers on. I got my I think the blowers here on the other side. But yeah, let's go.
No, it was you have this build that is, obviously unsatisfactory on a lot of different levels, whether you're talking fans, front office, players, what have you. And now you are bringing Tata Martino back, and there are going to be a lot of decisions on this roster that are going to be made. Who's staying, who's going, what's it going to look like, all the things. And it's a 2-year contract with 20 through the 27 season. So we'll see what Tata and the front office have in mind. But like I said, the relationship that's there with Tata and Chris Henderson from their time in Fort Lauderdale, that gives you that foundation. So it's not like you're bringing in a dude that you don't know. and you would have, clashing styles. It's like, no, I want it my way. No, I want it my way. You're not going to have that with Chris and with Tata from what they've had down in Fort Lauderdale. So if your tray table was not in its upright position and your seatbelt had not been previously fastened, make sure that you have your seatbelt fastened and that your seat is in its full upright and locked position, and that your tray table has been stored, because this is going to be like grabbing onto the Concorde, man. This is gonna be a wild off season here in Atlanta.
And this is the last. With Tata Martino was the last championship for Atlanta, right? Wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were one step out away on a 23-yard rocket from hosting a back-to-back MLS Cup in 18 and 19. So you were that close to probably winning back-to-back MLS Cups in 18 and 19. And now you have circled back to bring Tata back as a part of the new dynamic coming up in 26.
That'll be massive, man. That'll be massive.
That's the part that we're staring at here. Obviously, we're going to be keeping an eye on this and keep talking about it as we go. Once again, Niko Moreno joining us in about 15 minutes. And then obviously would not surprise me if Jason and Maddie and Jarrett came calling in as well here on the morning show when they are available. Let's get back to your topics here. Paulo Guerrero is not Peruvian. He's a Highlander. What are we talking about here?
So he's 41, right? He's 41 years old, and he's in fantastic shape. And I've been part of the critics about this, having two 40-year-old strikers in your roster, and yet Paulo Guerrero yesterday in a must-win game in Andahuaylas versus Los Chancas, who was fighting to get into the Copa Sudamericana spots, he came up with a brace, but not just any brace, Johnny. I mean, epic goals. I mean, phenomenal goals that 25-year-olds can score, right? Perfect technique, flawless finish, and he led the way to his beloved Alianza Lima to win this game. Because the problem with Alianza is that they're not in charge of their own fate. They gotta wait for Cusco to drop at least one of the two games that have left on the calendar to get a spot into Peru 2, which is the second group stage Copa Libertadores spot that Peru has. Otherwise, they're gonna have to play another set of playoffs this year. So that brings Alianza to almost the Brasileirao kind of calendar, right? Because in Brazil they play like 150,000 games a year, right? and Alianza is gonna end up. So let's just put it this way: they're gonna get to close to 60 games, Johnny, this year, man. Great. 60. That is insane. So let's put it the worst case scenario: they don't get the spot, the number 2, so they have to play 2 playoff series. So that's 4 more games, and that will be 56 games for Alianza this year in Peru. That is absolutely insane. And why did I mention the Highlander thing? Because Paulo Guerrero feels like he's been playing only 20 games this year, man. He was intact, in pristine condition yesterday. And I don't hear anything about doping with Paulo Guerrero. Why we don't hear that? Why we bring that up? Because there's a lot of people saying that Universitario Deportes did not get tested, right? Because how they can run in the altitude like that? Because they're professionals. Because they're not partying like the other guys from the other teams, right? So if you stay at home, you sleep early, and you get all your 8 hours every day, you go to training every day, and you don't party on the weekends, you might have a better chance to perform better in the altitude than all this crazy geography that we have here in Peru, brother. But,
Yep. So, you say your prayers, take your vitamins, drink your milk. At the age of 41, you're still crushing it. Since we're in Peru, let me ask you about this. All eyes in Europe, the Peruvian national team. What are you talking about here?
It's amazing the how we expand the universe of players in Peru. I don't know why. Before, it was like, oh, we're all Peruvians, born and raised here in Peru, born and raised in Chiclayo, in Cusco, in Lima, in whatever. But there's a lot of other players that didn't have Peruvian roots, right? If their father is Peruvian, if the mother is Peruvian, but they got players all over the world. And for the last international call-up, we got this kid Felipe Chai from Bayern Munich. All right, now we're getting another 2 more players from Germany. We got players from Italy. We got players from Denmark. And it's the scouting that this guy Manuel Barreto is putting in place for the Peruvian national team to get Peruvian players. I mean, not born Peruvian players, not fully. I mean, not 100% Peruvians, if you want to call it like that, right? But these are kids that are playing Bayern Munich, Bayern Leverkusen. They're playing for Napoli. I mean, these are kind of decent players. We're not bringing in, with all due respect to Lapadula, okay, who helped us a lot, brought a lot of goals. He was playing in B teams. He was playing in B teams. He's still playing in B teams. I think now it's in the 3rd division, if I don't recall properly.
Right.
But yeah, we got. You still there?
I'm here. No, I'm here. Yeah. So
okay. I was like, what happened? So yeah, we have those opportunities now, and they haven't been explored before. And we're gonna bring lots of Europeans, Euro-Peruvians, if you want to call it Euro-Peruvians.
Euro-Peruvians. Okay, I get it.
Euro-Peruvians, right? And because we're gonna be playing in Russia too, in St. Petersburg, so that makes sense too. You know,
Yes.
they keep all the players here in the Liga Uno or on this side of the club to get the opportunity to get players from Europe. Less travel, better logistics,
Agents.
everything works out better. You know.
Yep. Agents that are attached to it. And then Pedro Gallese, obviously we had discussed that Orlando City is not interested in keeping Pedro Gallese, but there were a couple of clubs in Major League Soccer that are interested in picking him up for 2026. One of those is the team in Fort Lauderdale, and that's the one that you were attached to with your questions about Pedro Gallese, sir.
I know. We all get excited here in Lima, particularly in Universitario. Once Pedro Gallese, he was not going to be renewing with Orlando City,
right?
And the agent told the story. The agent told the story about this you want to call breakup between Orlando and Gallese. Gallese was ready to negotiate the contract, right? Okay, guys, we're gonna sit down here and what we're gonna talk about. It's gonna be 1 year or 2 years. What's it gonna be like?
And they're like, no years.
No, right? I mean, the agent said that there wasn't even a conversation, man.
Oh wow.
They said like, all right, Pedro, thank you for everything. We're done. Just like that. We are done. Oscar Pareja and I forgot what the other guy's name.
Luis Muzi.
Yeah.
Before he decided he was going out the door. Yeah, Luis Muzi. Yeah.
And it was just like that. But immediately I went to the MLS salary website and I looked that up and we don't have 100,000 a month to pay to this guy. So I don't know if he's gonna consider get a pay cut, but it's what is it? The guarantee is 1.25.
Yeah.
For Gallese. Even though Universitario Deportes is doing fantastic in the finance department. I mean, we got everything. We got a lot of money last year, a lot more this year, and we got all the money from Copa Libertadores and new sponsors. The Copa Libertadores finals, money's flowing from everywhere to Universitario. But we got a big debt to pay. So a big chunk of that money is gonna go to pay the debt because I don't know if I mentioned the amount before, but I'm gonna tell you now is the amount that Universitario Deportes owes to the Peruvian IRS, which is called SUNAT here, 150 mil.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa.
And it's US dollars, not Peruvian, not soles. It's
Wow.
$150 million.
Wow. 150
So
million.
last year we set up not last year, this year in March. Oh, I thought it was last year. No, this year in March, we got the settlement. All right, this is going to be our installments. It's our payment plan it's a 30-year payment plan. It's a 30-year payment plan, and every year is I don't know
like
how
a
much.
house, like $5 million on a house every year plus interest.
Yeah, but at least we're starting paying. Before we're not even paying that.
Yep.
The debt was keeping gaining interest and more interest every year, and so they got that debt. We already got another the current debt that is already paid. It's already paid off. It's marvelous. Yeah, we got that one on the side. Now focus on the big money that we owe to the Peruvian IRS in order to get things back in track. And I think. Knowing Franco Velasco and knowing the finance team of Universitario, that they're going to try to shorten that those 30 years. They believe there's another plan, right? It might be 15, not 30,
Okay.
15, because if they keep winning, like it's happening now, big monies keep coming. So you guarantee every year $3 million for Libertadores, and getting another meal for winning the championship. So you get another meal here. You got $5 million each year if you keep winning. Yeah, $5 million that are coming in that you can keep putting that money into the big ass debt that Universitario Deportes has with the IRS.
No doubt. What are you calling this weekend?
I got news also, man. I got a story for you. It's awesome. Let me see. We got on Friday. We got Estoril tomorrow. We got an early bird on Saturday. Albert Carrillo Ave, 10:30 in the morning. Not that early. Then we got Boston River.
All right.
At night.
You guys.
Sunday, Benfica Casapia, and then Peñarol to close the weekend on GOLTV.
As always, yes, and Gil Vicente is the early one of the early ones on Sunday. They are favored on the road at AFS as they continue their climb up the table. As always, my friend, it is great to see you. Glad that you were be a part of our breaking news that we have here this morning about the return of Tata Martino. And glad that you didn't have to do this one off of your hotspot, because I imagine that was like a $9,000 phone call that you had last week.
Brother, it was insane. But I'm glad that the guys I called the cable company came in, they fixed it right away. It was amazing. In 1 hour they got here. 1 hour. I was like, what? Okay, you must love me a little bit, huh?
Well, they need to be there the hour before you're supposed to go on the air with us. So
I know.
By the time you come on. As always, my friend, great to see you. Thanks for dropping by. We'll be eavesdropping on your conversations all weekend long on GOLTV. Thank you for sharing the world with us, as you always do here on Thursdays.
Thank you, Johnny. See you guys. Take care.
All right. There goes Nino Torres from GOLTV. All right. Once again, as the breaking news, it is the return of Tata Martino. The video is out on the socials that are Atlanta United. And Tata wants to tell you a story, and so it's a minute long, and he tells you a story. But once again, here are the deets, as the kids say. The Argentine has been signed to a contract through the 2027 season. Returns after he led the club to one of the league's greatest launches with MLS Cup in 2018. 25 years as a manager, club and international level, South America, Europe, North America, 11 trophies. Reporting to Chief Soccer Officer and Sporting Director Chris Henderson. The press release obviously had quotes from Arthur Blank and from Chris Henderson and from Tata Martino. Once again, Martino leads Atlanta to the MLS Cup in 2018, earliest an expansion team had won the championship since 1998, recorded the most points, 124, the most goals, 140, best goal difference in Major League Soccer at plus 56, became the second team in league history at the time to score 70-plus goals in back-to-back seasons. Coach of the Year 2018. Once again, quotes from the two principals, Chris Henderson, Tata Martino. Club level, coached in Champions League, Libertadores, the top divisions in Spain, Argentina, Paraguay, and MLS, Newell's Old Boys, Barcelona, Atlanta United, and the team in Fort Lauderdale. Recently managed Inter Miami CF, First 2 trophies in history, 2023 Leagues Cup after arriving in mid-season, and 2024 Supporters Shield. Record-breaking season in 24, single-season MLS points record at 74, league best goals at 79. They were 27th in 2023, Supporters Shield title points record in 24. Once again, building the reputation on success in Paraguay, 4 league titles between 02 and 06. Libertad, 3 Paraguayan First Division titles, 02, 03, 06. 2 managing spells at the side, and in between led Cerro Porteño to the league title in 2004. Managed Paraguay, Argentina, and Mexico on the international stage. First managing Paraguay during a run from 07 to 11. Albiroja goes to the quarters in the 2010 FIFA World Cup. Best finish for the nation at a World Cup. 2011 Copa America final. First time Paraguay had reached the Copa America final since 1979. First year in command, Paraguay reaches the quarters of the 07 Copa America, while Tata was named South American Coach of the Year. Later coached his country's national team from 14 to 16. Number 1 FIFA World Ranking, first time in 8 years in July of 2015. Argentina gets Copa America Finals 2015-2016. 24-5 in his stint in charge. Martino managed Mexico from 19 to 22, 42, 11, and 13. Mexico wins the 2019 CONCACAF Gold Cup, 2021 Gold Cup, 2021 CONCACAF Nations League Final, qualifies for the World Cup in 22. Remember his time also as a player at Newell's Old Boys, where he still holds the club record for appearances, 505, 3 Argentine Primera titles. Tata Martino returns to wear the sweater around the neck with the knot. And it is going to be a build. It is going to be a build, and we will see what it looks like. Derek has linked to the video that has been released on all kinds of socials. David, to your point, that's the thing about Gillespie. Watching Gillespie in the last month and a half, looked unhappy and troubled by his team's play. Understandable. And so now, there was the discussion, and that was why we wanted to bring in the idea of Gillespie and possibly Peru. But it looks like, obviously, it's not the purple team. And there was the instant thought that he would go down to Fort Lauderdale. Do you keep Ustari and Rocco Rios Novo with that? So let me check and see what the status is for those particular for that roster profile. No, it's like, I just want the MLS September GAM number. I don't want the Norton safe version of it. Okay, so it is the club roster profile. So let's say, since we are in the Gillespie Q&A section, and there was also another team that was linked, one you may know in this particular footprint. It just in conversation, like I said, just throwing stuff out there. It was a report. No depth to the report in and of itself. But as we go to the M, which would be Team 17, it is, let's see, Ustari is through 26. Rocco is on loan, contract through 25. And then you have options of 27, 28, and 29. So the keeper situation, and also William Yarborough, remember, he is in camp. He has a contract through this year, an option year for next. So those are the 3 currently going between the sticks in Fort Lauderdale. I don't think Yarborough got any reps at all in his time in Fort Lauderdale. So I would not anticipate that his option would be picked up. Then you have the discussion of Ustari and Rocco Rios Novo, and what it's going to look like. Remember, Rocco's on loan to Fort Lauderdale. So do you renew that loan? Do you let him go back to where he was? Is it Ustari and Gillespie? And then you have the other team that was mentioned here with Atlanta United. Like I said, it was just a mention. There has been no depth to the reporting or any kind of mentions at all. No mentions at all, one way or the other. So it is a 2-year deal with Tata Martino, and the questions that will now be laid out there for Tata Martino and for Chris Henderson going forward. No word yet on any kind of a gathering for the media yet. So once again, remember your DPs, Miggy's contract through 27, Latte Lot through 28, Miranchuk through 27. You have your TAM players. Alzate is under contract through 30. Barakal is under contract through 29. His loan is through June of 26 with options to 29. Stian Gregerson through 27, option for 28. Once again, we've mentioned Brooks Lennon out of contract, but he does have an option pickup decision to be made. Saba's a TAM player, contract through 26. Mihai, TAM through 28, option for 29. Tristan Muyumba, contract through 26, option year for 27. Bart Sleesh, contract through 28. Jamal, contract expires, option for 26. Amador, contract through 26, option for 27. Josh Cohen, contract expires, option year for 26. Ronald Hernandez, contract through 25, option year for 26. Togashi, contract through 25, option for 26. Supplementals, Leo Afonso through 25, options 26 and 27. Luke Brennan, homegrown, contract through 27, option for 28, and obviously we continue to send our love Luke Brennan's way. Dominic Chong-Kui, homegrown through 28, option for 29. Noah Cobb, still technically on loan to Colorado, contract is through 26, option year for 27. Matt Edwards, homegrown through 25, options 26 and 27. Jay Fortune, option year for 26. Contract expires this year. Ashton Gordon, contract through 26. Contract options 27 and 28. Jaden Hibbert, Will Riley, contracts through 25. Option years 26, 7, and 8. Nick Sessick through 25. Option years 26 and 27. Aiden Torres out on loan. Contract through 27. Option for 28. Cooper Sanchez, homegrown through 26. Option 27 and 28. Atlanta right now, 7 international slots. They're on the 3-and-3 model when it comes to DP and U22. The U22s are all available. Technically, they are all available. Edwin Mosqueda is on loan. Do not be surprised if his contract is picked up. Right now, Mosqueda is a contract with Atlanta United through 26, option year for 27. He is one of the 2 U22 positions. 2 U22 positions are available for Atlanta United right now. So that is the rundown of Atlanta United when it comes to decisions that have to be made, decisions that have been made. Obviously, I didn't mention Brad Gazan because he retired. His contract expired. So that's where Atlanta United is right now, roster profile as of when it was released in September with the GAM profile and how much GAM was available. And for Atlanta United, it wasn't much. So you had $137,000 in Garber Bucks available to you. And that puts you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the bottom in available general allocation money at the end of in the middle of September. So that's where Atlanta United was at that point in September. That's your decisions that have to be made for Atlanta United. And now, as always, we go to Seattle as a part of our discussion, and we bring in our buddy Niko Moreno, and we break that down with him in addition to the playoffs that we have here in Major League Soccer. We have 5 on the floor, 1 on Friday, 3 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. We'll talk to Niko about one of those matchups. We'll probably go through all 5 in particular, but we bring him in from Seattle. He's wearing the lid. He's ready to go. And obviously, half hour ago, the news broke. Tata Martino returns to Atlanta United under contract for the 27 season. So it is a 2-year deal, and Tata Martino returns for Atlanta United to be on the touchline for a team that's going to have a lot of decisions it's got to make this season. What does Tata and Chris Henderson want the roster to look like? That's where the rubber hits the road. Business is about to pick up here in Atlanta. Tata Martino returns as manager.
Yeah, first of all, good morning, John, SDH family. Excited, happy for the fan base to get back the man who made it all happen, who started the whole thing, who, in my opinion, did leave a curse behind once he was let go, but maybe he is the key to just breaking that, and this team can get back to the winning ways. But yeah, this is something that we've been following around. Unfortunately, I've been behind the eight ball the entire time, but the reality, and after talking to several GMs across the league, it is a manager that had a lot of interest from a lot of clubs, and he clearly has a relationship with the city, with the club. He has a relationship with Chris Henderson that goes all the way back to Miami. That was a very good working relationship, as far as I've been able to tell, as much as I've been able to hear from several sources, that there was a lot of respect between Chris Henderson and Tata Martino. Unfortunately, Miami turned into something else once certain additions were made to that club. And so I do believe that this is a formula for success. There is nothing about this hire that I dislike. I think that Tata Martino is the right guy to unlock what you might have left out of a guy like Almiron. I feel like he has the ability to use and maximize the strength of a Latelat. I think that when you look at this roster and some of the pieces that still need to come in, Tata can do that. He's a phenomenal recruiter. Tata Martino has the curriculum, the credibility, the networking, the contacts. I mean, he is a guy that understands the game, and there aren't many coaches that are as involved and knowledgeable on how to build a roster, including in MLS. He's been in the system. He knows. He talks about it. He absolutely would be a guy that, with Chris Henderson, who, as we all know, can not only go out there and make sure that he elaborates this roster in a way that the salary cap can be maximized. But if you need to go out there and get a younger player, if you want to go out there and draft an interesting player that could be a contributor for Atlanta, he can do that. So for me, it's a perfect match, and I'm just excited to see it, and excited to once again have Tata in this league. He is one of the most interesting guys. He is so respectful to media members. He is very, in my opinion and in my experience, accessible in so many ways, both English and Spanish. So I'm just excited to have him back. I think it's the right hire for Atlanta United.
All right. So just a programming update away from us. Noon on YouTube. It's going to be Mike, Connie, Jason Longshore. They're going to have a special edition of Atlanta Soccer Tonight on YouTube at noon Eastern. So after we're done, everybody can catch their breath a little bit, and then they can catch up with Mike and Jason at noon on YouTube for Atlanta Soccer Tonight this afternoon. So that'll be what we're staring at with that. But yeah, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made. It's a 2-year deal through the 27 season, and then it's a lot of work to be done in a very short period of time, because we're looking at 2 months away from the start of training camp, and trying to figure out, okay, so who's here, who's not, where do I want to go, what's going on. So you've got 2 months to kind of sit in a room with all those dry erase boards and all of those ideas, and hitting the phones and making sure that you've got unlimited talk and text and figuring out how you want this thing to look. You got 2 months before training camp, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is what you want out of Tata. I think that that's a reasonable contract for him. I am a little bit ticked off. I'm not gonna lie to you. On Sunday night, I literally had a conversation with at least 2 sources who had told me that there was nothing that was completely finalized, and then like a day later or something, I think Doug and then Tom ended up going off with the information. I think I pressed the button at the right time, or I just missed it by a slice. But no, yeah, this Tata Martino contract, I think, goes well with what we will see. I think that there's going to be a lot of changes within the league, that Tata would be the perfect guy to prepare you for. We're talking about a calendar change. We're talking about, I've heard all kinds of things about perhaps MLS going into either this apertura clausura type of calendar. I've heard that that there'll be a winter break and there'll be like a bridge tournament in between the seasons. I mean, there is so much that is going to change from MLS standards, that having a guy like Tata that gives you stability and another thinking mind, right? For Atlanta, it is just the right way to go. And I do think that Atlanta United fans, they've had enough. They've had enough of this stagnant, uninspiring team that has all of these resources, all of this talent, and just hasn't been able to take that next step. And once again, I am a huge Garth and Chris believer, although we don't know where Garth is going to be necessarily in the near future. He's obviously taking a leave of absence that could be, I don't know.
You want Garth to focus on his health first and foremost.
Correct. Absolutely.
I'm at the front of the line sitting there saying I hate cancer, and I would get the explicit rating by explaining how much I do hate cancer. You want Garth to focus on that. It's in good hands with Skate Knopfsinger on the business side, Demetrius Estathiou on the financial side, and with Chris Henderson on the soccer side. So you want Garth to just focus on getting healthy, and then have continue to have Skate, Demetrios, and Chris cook in this environment right now.
Totally, exactly. So for me, having a guy like Tata adds yet another person that could be part of that soccer side with Chris Henderson. So I'm just ecstatic for you guys, the audience, that it stands me for half hour every Thursday. I'm happy for you guys.
Yeah, 2-year deal once again through 27 as of right now. That is what has been published by Atlanta United. So it is through the 2027 season. So now 26 and 27. That's the current framework that we're working under here. Obviously, more as we go, and we may be drifting in and out of the Tata topic here for the remainder of the show. I did want to go over the matchups with you. I want to start with the Seattle matchup. And you hit the pedal down, much like Hell is Real. We had Chris Doran on earlier this morning, and it was pedal down early for Seattle, getting out to a 3-0 lead. And I think it was just shocking on a couple of different fronts from those of us from the outside, that because we know what Minnesota brings to the table defensively, that Seattle was able to penetrate that defense at Lumen, put 3 on the board, and then we're sitting there going, man, we can't have nice things. All of a sudden it's 3-2. We're writing all of our leads and everything. The stories are down, and then you're just kind of like, oh, well, crap. And then it's 3-2, and you got to hang on. So you had almost 2 separate games, I think, in match day 2 with Minnesota United.
Yeah, there were you could vacuum seal the first 45 minutes, because it is 45 minutes. It's literally exactly 45 minutes that Seattle played a perfect game. They just hit all the objectives. They started off on the front foot. They got an early goal. They had the right intensity, the fluidity of their offensive tactics was working to perfection. The Danny Musovski and Jordan Morris combination worked to just look. I'm not going to give all the credit or too much of the credit to Danny Musovski, because I thought that he was okay. I thought he had a modest game. I think Jordan Morris did a lot of running, did a lot of assisting. I think that Obed Vargas had a phenomenal game, and all by design. You got to credit Brian Smetzer for a couple of things. One, the tactics, the way that he was able to say, look, Obed Vargas, I'm going to put you up a little bit higher. There were times that this formation looked like a 4-4-2 diamond. There were times that it looked like a 3-5-2 with an inverted triangle. There were times that it just changed. There was so much fluidity, and even within those systems, they're all the same concepts, right? And so the pressing was so good. They were able to really affect the game by having positive pressing, and then once the pressing was correct and there was a clearance from Minnesota, it was getting that guy to win that 50-50 ball and then having transition moments. All of the goals by Seattle had some sort of transition moment. So to me, they had a perfect game. But then you have those 8 minutes of just, you got to credit Minnesota a little bit or a lot. I feel like maybe my words were misconstrued because I had a lot of Minnesota fans come chirping at me. But when I say soft goals,
Yeah.
I'm talking, and that's an indictment on the defense. Those were mistakes by the defense. Those were very preventable goals. And that's why when Brian Spitz talks about soft goals, that's what he's referring to. And that's what I'm referring to. But you got to credit the opponent, because an opponent has to create that mistake, pick up that mistake, carry it over, and then finalize it in the final third and put that goal away. And I thought that Seattle was lucky that it didn't go 3-3 at halftime, because Rosales, right after those two goals, one, a mistake between Jordan Morris and Obed. Obed with just a pass that didn't have enough. Jordan didn't go out there and pick it up quickly enough. There's a moment where Lott obviously intercepts the ball. Trianti does a great job with the run. You put the ball away. And then the second one, even more preventable. My guy, one of the safest defenders, by far the best defender for the Sounders ever since he got here, Yemer Gomez-Andrade. Don't know what he was thinking. I think he got caught up in two minds. Had an easy pass, he doesn't. He holds it too long, gets dispossessed, and then that creates a goal. And then there's a third one that Rosales misses in front of goal. So Seattle was lucky there. But for me, it was impressive. And I, as the guy that has this reputation of just being the Brian Schmetzer hater, I give all of the credit to Brian Schmetzer for taking those two goals right before halftime and then having the composure to go into the locker room and get them squared away right mentally and finishing that second half in the most professional way, going back to what was working, being disciplined defensively, and then adding goals to make sure that you put that game away. So Seattle in different pockets, I thought it was very good, but because I do credit Minnesota, I do think that Eric Ramsey, with those two goals, is going to go game 3 and say, look, if I bunker as deep as I did in Seattle, there's a chance that the same thing happens and they break through the walls, and maybe I need to be a little bit more aggressive as I was in those 8 minutes at the end of that game, where I'm playing a little bit higher, when I'm pressing them selectively in certain moments. So I do believe that in game 3, there is going to be a lot more risk taken by Eric Ramsey. And I know people might think, are you sure? Like he has exact same way of playing. Look, I get it, but I do feel like there is going to be a couple of personnel changes, and I think that there's going to be some wrinkles to his tactics.
Okay. All right. So let's go through the other 4 matchups. Charlotte and NYC. We're going to have Will Pelagic on the show, play-by-play voice on the radio side, 10:30 tomorrow to break this one down. But Dean Smith continues to want to sit there and say, we're the underdog, we're the underdog, we're the underdog. Yeah, well, you're the 4 seed in an Eastern Conference, but that's what he wants to continue to try and pound. NYC took care of things at the 68-106, and now you've got game 3. What do you think of this one?
I mean, you look like the underdog on the field, but that doesn't mean that you are the underdog, sir. But to me, Charlotte got lucky to push that game to penalty kicks. I thought that New York was the better team, specifically in the second half. I thought they had a lot of chances. Kalina had a huge game, even before the PKs, to keep his team afloat and give Charlotte a chance. I still think that Saha was okay. And I feel like he does more when he has a mic in front of him than when he does with the ball at his feet at times. And, you know, you got to just level that up a little bit. But I do like New York City FC. I think that the way they need their offense to progress and the pockets that they find and the way they transition the ball is easier for them than it is for Charlotte. And because of that, I have New York City going through, pulling, I guess you call it the upset on the road, although they already did it in game 1. I do think that New York City is the more effective team on the field, and it'll show in game 3.
All right. Next one, we had Chris Doran on, like I said, in hour number 1 to break down Hella's real match day 3. We talked about match day 2 a little bit. And Cincinnati and Columbus, this one is at TQL. No Yuya Kubo for Cincinnati in this one for the straight red dog on the takedown. I don't know if he necessarily got 2 points because he didn't have shoulders down or anything, but Yuya Kubo not available for Cincinnati on the weekend in the middle game. What sticks out in this one for you? Columbus, they put 4 on the floor, and it looked easy attacking the edges for Cincinnati, and my guess is they're just going to continue to try to do that against Alvis Powell, Echenike, and try and have them chasing its shadows for a full 90 minutes.
It'd be very easy to make Kubo your scapegoat and say, look, the red card changed the game and all these things. But the reality is that Cincinnati just didn't quite get off the bus. They didn't quite get off the flight that they were on. I mean, it was just a game where they didn't have the intensity. There was no clarity on the ball. And you cannot give a team like Columbus the space that you gave them and the confidence that you gave them in, and they made you pay. Look, I still have my doubts about Columbus, but you got to give them credit when credit is due. And I thought that they came into this game and they understood that it was going to take quick patterns. It was going to take more numbers into the box. It was going to take a guy like Arson to have a huge game, which he did. You were going to have to beat them at their own game in the midfield, and everything that they were able to do, I thought worked for Columbus. Diego Rossi is a guy that, once again, he might get some criticism for not being the guy that's going to be able to just take the load and maybe put the team on his back. But when the team is cooking, he is part of that roast, right? He is a guy that puts the ingredients and gives it that finesse. And I thought that he had a good game, but all in all, I thought that it was a good plan by Wilfred. And I think that it was a game where it got out of hand for Cincinnati. I do think that there was more about what Cincinnati gave Columbus than what Columbus necessarily did to get it. But at the end of the day, it's about results. It's about getting goals, and Columbus did it perfectly.
You look at that one, and then you go late night for the last one on the triple header Saturday. It is Messi and friends, and it is Nashville, no Luis Suarez. We went over that piece of news in hour number 1. So no Luis Suarez in this matchup for them, and Nashville heads in. Obviously, they're going to be an underdog in this one. 8-12 kick. I am intrigued at how this one is going to go. I know that everybody's sitting there and tilting the field and sitting there going that this is going to be match day 3. Messi's going to grab everybody by the scruff of the neck and basically just will them and yank them over the finish line in this series. What do you think?
Look, I've heard so many comments that maybe this is a good thing because, Luis Suarez won't be there and you have a guy that maybe presses a little bit more and moves around and does this and the other. Look, at the end of the day, Luis Suarez stuck in third gear these days and with a very slow pace, he affects the game. And he is a guy that connects, that moves, that understands certain things. I've said it 1,000 times. He's a phenomenal, very talented player, but a very incomplete human being.
I know,
and you saw that.
He's got a 10-cent head at times. Yeah, million dollar soccer player, 10-cent head. Yeah,
absolutely. So, and you saw that with that unnecessary kick to Nahar, and now he pays the price. So I do think that this is a big deal, as much as people don't want to make it seem that way. I think that there is a level of respect, and Luis Suarez demands a lot of attention when he is on the field. Mm-hmm. And by not having that, I do feel like it's going to simplify what Nashville wants to do with the ball, wants to do without the ball. So to me, it's done. I think Nashville is going to go into this game. I think that they will take control of it early. I think they'll have the tempo of the game. And I think they're going to put Inter Miami against the ropes and win this game comfortable. I do believe that. And I know that I'm saying this with the Messi factor and with the fact that I understand that Rodrigo de Paul has been very meh. I think that's the best.
I think he defers.
Adjective.
I think he's deferring a lot with everyone around him. With Busquets, with Alba, with Messi, I think he's deferring instead of being the individual that we know he can be in this offense. I think he's deferring to sit there, and it's like, tell you what, I'll help y'all out because of, this is y'all's last ride or what have you. I think he's holding back and isn't the real Rodrigo de Paul so far.
Couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And because of that, maybe there is a little bit of a possibility of Messi walking into your room or in the locker room and being like, all right, man, no Suarez today. You got to step it up a bit. And maybe that changes things a little bit. But as much as I try to analyze this game, I just don't see how Inter Miami, without Luis Suarez up top, is going to be able to get the fluidity of that offense going. And we all know that defensively, they struggled. They struggled, maybe not in game one, but they struggled during the season. In decision day, they struggled in the second game. I just don't think that there's enough defensive-minded players without a guy like Bright in the midfield. And that just seems to be the way that Mascherano likes to play. So to me, Nashville is just the better team, the better cohesive collective unit, and it'll show, in my opinion, in game 3.
All right, so then before we get to Portland and Seattle, Portland and San Diego, I want to ask this to you, and it has to do with the retroactive punishment on Luis Suarez. Traditionally, this was away from the ball, no call, no nothing. Nothing called on the field, and so nothing from VAR. Hey, stop, do whatever. Go back and give me a foul coming back. Yes, you're going to need to be hydrated for this one. So let me ask you this: nothing called on the field at the time. VAR doesn't go down on the field for any kind of a review. So it happened away from the ball. That's basically the best way it can be phrased with Suarez and Nahar. Then you have Disco come in from behind after the game is over and no foul was called to say it's a foul, it was egregious, you're suspended, we're going to Disco Section 3, which I've still got to find. They've gone back in and re-refereed something. They've come in after a result is finished. Like the door is closed, fridge is closed, you've made your decision, here's what you're having for lunch. You're going to make your sandwich. Sandwich is made, door is closed. What Disco has done, if I'm interpreting this correctly, they've tried to make their sandwich, and then they're like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should add a couple more slabs of meat or something. Maybe I should add something else to this. It's not supposed to be this healthy a sandwich. I'm going to go in, get some luncheon meat, and I want to, make a Dagwood and do that. They've come in from behind for something that wasn't called in the game. And last time I checked, it's like if it wasn't reviewed, it wasn't called, it's supposed to be as is. This is it. Yeah, we can look back and sit there and say in retrospect, yeah, it should have been called, but it wasn't. Now you've got Disco coming in behind and sitting there saying, even though the sandwich is made, the box is closed, fridge is closed, hey, you know what? We're not done making lunch yet. We're going to come back in and we're going to fix this sandwich and make it healthier. That's kind of what I'm staring at here. And if I'm interpreting this correctly, that they've come in and re-refereed, that's a dangerous thing to stare at going forward. Selective enforcement, yeah.
No, absolutely. And I get what you're going with it. But I don't think it's unprecedented when it comes to other things that maybe are off the field that get investigated later. And that's the way that I would in some way try to compare it to. It is some dangerous grounds, but I do feel like in this particular situation with this particular individual, it made that a little bit easier because he's just such a repeat offender. But at the end of the day, I believe it's valid, and especially when it is so clear and obvious of what you were trying to do, and that aggression, at times just gets unseen. Yeah. And this is why Disco ends up at times adding games or depending on what they see.
Right. And that was because a foul was called.
Sure. Yep. No, I totally get it. I absolutely get it. And the funny part was that later, Inter Miami tried to appeal that, which was just as weird because it's if you re-refereed,
right,
Disco, you're the one that decided as you put
Right.
it out.
Yeah, and you're going by the rules of you're going by the rules as they're supposed to be implemented. So I'm looking at it strictly from that way. I'm not denying that Luis Suarez, and we talked about Luis Suarez.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that the contact on Nahar was nasty. I'm not denying that. I mean, literally, it was a mule kick to Andy Nahar. He's buzzing past him. Oh, mule kick, bang. I'm not denying what Suarez did. I'm just sitting here and saying within the framework of calling fouls, it wasn't called. And so VAR didn't sit there and go, well, you need to go back and call something. In the framework of the game, it wasn't called. So when the game is over, if nothing is called, I think that box is closed and you've got to file everything away. And then Disco comes in and says, no. I mean, it's like I said, to me, it's just something that we got to keep an eye on, where they're coming back in, and I'm using Inter Miami's words here. I'm using Messi and Friends' word about re-refereeing something when it wasn't called. Now they're calling it a foul, and then you're giving a suspension of these kinds of things. Like I said, that's just and I know Derek is mentioning in the Twitch pitch about it being Disco's job. Yes, I'm agreeing that is part of Disco's writ, but at the same time, they're going back in and fixing something. They're going back in thinking something needs to be fixed when the game itself is done. Hermetically sealed envelope, game's done, stats done, everything. Nothing was called. I'm just saying that going back in after nothing was called and the game is over, you got to keep an eye on that kind of stuff, because I think you are re-refereeing a result regardless of what we think about the call in particular. I'm just saying that it's something we got to keep an eye on.
No, and I totally agree. If anything, and I do agree with the comment, because that's kind of the way I feel, is that's Disco's job, is kind of being that third party that overlooks at your work and says, look, man, you missed, you didn't cross these T's, you didn't dot these I's, you got to get that fixed.
You got to come up with a better adjective and a better sentence. Yeah.
But to your point, this is an indictment on just poor refereeing that MLS has sometimes, and the lack of consistency and the lack of VAR at times. So it's mainly that. And by Disco going back and re-refereeing, I've always said that if that's the case and you feel like that was something missed by the referees, there should be some sort of communication or reprimand to that group of referees for missing something that was clear as day. Did it not? How did you miss that? Because I mean, we saw it in the broadcast. What were those guys doing at the time? Did they go get that sandwich you were describing? I mean, I don't know. But that is, to me, the biggest conclusion of this whole thing is that the refereeing needs work in MLS. And by Disco doing that, they're clearly adding that, highlighting that, and saying, look, they missed this. We got to fix it because it was so clear and obvious. And I think that's what I would take out of it.
Yeah, and you got to see if that crew, ends up just being stuck doing VARs and AVARs going forward. We'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
I know I've delayed the Portland-San Diego discussion to right now. So Portland and San Diego, what do you think?
I want to credit Neville for taking this to 3 games, and I think that he did it in the only way he knew how, was just being direct, muttering the water, making sure that you disrupted San Diego's flow. It was 13 fouls by the first half. They were able to really interrupt what San Diego likes to do, but I just don't feel like they have enough bullets in that chamber, and I think that it's going to be too much for Portland when Chucky Lozano, who made a huge difference when he came onto the game, now being a starter, now obviously being at home, and I know that San Diego hasn't been a huge home game or a home team that they've dropped a lot of points at home, but I do think that in this particular instance, Portland's going to be put into what San Diego wants to do on the attack. And I feel like they're going to expose this Timbers team for what it is, which is a very inconsistent team that has inconsistent players on offense and defense, because the Costa has been MIA for the majority of the playoffs and the end of this season. And Kelsey is just as bad, where you don't know if he is going to show up, is not going to show up. maybe the goalkeeping component for San Diego, it is something to look at. Obviously, CJ Dos Santos is a guy that had been so good in so many ways, not just goalkeeping wise, but what he does in distribution for a team that likes to play with the ball. But I just think that San Diego has too many weapons. They're going to put this away. They'll put it away 90, and they'll move on. And whoever wins out of Minnesota and Seattle will get the distinct pleasure of playing San Diego in San Diego.
No doubt about it. As always, my friend, thank you for crashing on what evolved into a breaking news Thursday. What's the latest at oil change, auto repair, and tires and transmission distribution up there at Providence and Swedish?
Yeah, it's been a great week at the training facility. First of all, Christian Roldan getting a very deserved not nomination, but being named to the best 11 in MLS. It is a great reward to a player that has put in the work, that statistically it might not seem like it because he's had better seasons when he played winger. What comes to mind is 2022 when he led CCL in assists, and he was just a different player. But this year, how influential he's been for this Sounders team in the pivot position, being more of a real six, having that defensive responsibility is the reason why Seattle has gotten as far as they gotten. So to me, he is absolutely the best number 6 in MLS right now. So deserve credit to him. Brian talked about it. I thought it was great. In the injury department, Alex Roldan seems to be fine. He came off with a little bit of a growing tightness, seems to be completely okay and will be available for game 3. Mainly, the attitude is there for the Sounders. They know and understand that they won this game because of the offensive fluidity of it, what they were able to do with crashing the box, the tempo that they had in this game. So throughout the week of training, you've seen that out of this squad, and they're ready to go, man. I really do think that they understand that they now have found a grit, a hole in the wall that it is the Minnesota defense. So it's been an interesting week of training for the Seattle Sounders. And I think that they're going to go to game 3 and really take over, man. So if you want to hear some of the interviews, if you want to hear kind of what we have in mind, go ahead and check out Pulso Sports. Everything that we got this week is on there. Of course, tomorrow we'll do what we learned this week with Jeremiah Oshan, where we're going to break down the starting 11, what this game will look like in Minnesota, what are the chances of the Sounders winning this game. And then on Monday, we'll have the newspaper under our armpit, and we'll be able to break down what happened with Ari Lillenwall on Lovins Coach's kickoff. I will say one last thing, if you would allow me there, John. I did want to give my 2 cents on the news that came across of Dos Santos being the front runner for the LAFC job. I've heard so many bad takes and misinformed opinions on Dos Santos. I've had the privilege to watch him prepare for a preseason down here with Vancouver. He's a guy that is one of the brightest minds when it comes to just tactics and X's and O's. He's phenomenal with player development. I've talked to so many players that were part of that Vancouver team in his time here, and it was a clear idea that there wasn't many coaches that they've worked with that can elaborate what they wanted executed on the team in the way that Dos Santos did. He's been an assistant with Steve Cherundolo in an extremely successful LAFC. He's won leagues, the league. He's won the Shield. He's won US Open Cup. He's been to like 3 finals, including the CONCACAF Champions Cup final and Leagues Cup. I mean, he's just been such a important piece of this assistant head coach for Cherundolo. So to me, I love the thought process of having him take over for LAFC, because he seems to be a guy that has learned a whole lot, has grown a whole lot, and he just has a great eye for what he wants in a team. So, like it or not, call it maybe not as flamboyant or exciting as maybe LAFC wants it, but I do think that if he gets his opportunity, he's going to be the right guy for the job. He's going to continue doing what Cherundolo has done right, adding some components to that game. And I just love that he could potentially be the head coach of LAFC.
Yep. And what we have been discussing with Mark Dos Santos basically is he's behind the wheel of that RTD bus that we see, going through Los Angeles. And it's like, look, man, just hang on to the steering wheel. Make sure you hit all the stops. Make sure you pick up all the passengers. Make sure you drop them off where they're supposed to be dropped off. Somebody pulls the emergency ripcord. You stop the bus and they want to get off, they get off. Just make sure that you don't wreck the bus and turn it into like Keanu Reeves in Speed. You're sitting there, like it gets below 55, you're in trouble. Just sit there, hang on to the bus, hit all the stops, pick up all your people, make sure you get all the fares. Everything should be fine, yeah?
Absolutely. And look, the younger guys like Nathan Ordaz, like La Perla Martinez, those are guys that I guarantee you are going to be happy to have a guy that has developed and worked with them so closely to be the head coach. And if that is the future of your franchise, Buanga is going to Buanga, and Sung is going to Sung. Worry about the other components around them to just uplift them to that level, and I guarantee you that it's going to be a good team. And I think that Mark Dos Santos can do that. He'll let the star shine bright, but he'll give him that, collaborative work and role-playing team behind them to allow them to do what they do.
All right, my friend, I know we kept you long, and I know that you're probably heading to your third cup of coffee, but on breaking news days like this where we've got a lot of ground to cover, there it is. He's got the coffee going. Yeah, see, he's got the Pulse going. He's got the Pulse smoke.
Oh yeah. It says my kid and my money go to Washington State, and I miss them both. That's what it says.
And so hey, they're getting ready for the Tupac, and they're getting ready for the new Pac-12 or 10 or however the heck many schools are going to be attached to it. We'll catch up with you again next week as the playoffs continue to dwindle their way down. And thanks for all the insight this morning on all the breaking news and everything, because we were flying this morning, brother. And we turned the table, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, we've been at this for like 40 minutes. So,
yeah, we are getting a little bit farther out, man. But I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for the time, and I'll see you next week.
You got it. There goes the Niko Moreno, everybody. Pulso Sports Sounder at heart. Okay, Abby, to answer your question, she is looking for the link to the play in question with Luis Suarez and Andy Najar. It is out there. Major League Soccer has it as a part of their disciplinary report on their website. Derek has beaten me to it. Ben Wright at Ben WRIGHT has the full play. That was what we played this morning in hour number 1 to look at what happened there. So Ben is attached to the Nashville Media Corps at BENWRIGHT. And so that he's got the long version that we played. And then Major League Soccer has their version on the website. Derek has also gotten very, very fast hands. Okay. In addition to everything else that is going on, Mauricio Pochettino has named his 25 that are going in November. And so here is the rundown once again. It's Paraguay on November 15th in Chester. And that is 5 o'clock in the afternoon. TNT, HBO Max, Telemundo, Universo, Peacock. USA Uruguay is going to be in Tampa, returning there for the first time since 2018. The Pirate Ship is going to host it on November the 18th against the top 16 Uruguayan side, 7 o'clock. TNT, True, HBO Max, Universo, and Peacock. And once again, Westwood 1 will have your English language. Football de Primera has your Spanish language on the audio side. So here's the rundown. It is 4 keepers, which is an interesting choice. It is Celentano and Jonathan Klinsmann, who both have the opportunity for their first cap. Matt Freese, Patrick Schulte are the other 2. So 4 keepers in camp for the 25 that are there. That is interesting. You have 9 defenders that have been listed, and it is Arfston, Dest, Freeman, McKenzie, Ream, Miles, Scally, Tolkien, and Austin Trusty. Those are your defenders. Midfielders, Tyler Adams, Sebastian Berhalter, Aiden Morris, Gio Reyna, who is back. Gio Reyna is back. Christian Roldan, Tanner Tessman, and Sean Zawatsky, who will have the opportunity for his second cap if he plays. Forwards, Brendan Aronson, Falarin Balogun, Diego Luna, Ricardo Pepi, Haji Wright. So that's the rundown in November. Diego Luna leads the list of half dozen players on the roster with double-digit appearances in 25, 15 of the 16 matches. Max Arfston, 14 caps to his credit. Tim Ream increased his roster leading total to 78 with 12 matches played this year. Alex Freeman, Matt Freese, 11 each. Tyler Adams has 10. All the appearances for the MNT for Arston, Freeman, and Freese have come this year. Luna earning all but one of his caps in 25. Now you have a number of players bringing all of the goal scoring back. Balogun and Pepe scored in Champions League this week. Balogun scored the only goal for Monaco in their win against Bodo Glimt. Pepe scored in the 3rd minute of second-half stoppage for the 1-1 draw against, for PSV against Olympiacos. Brendan Aronson got his first Premier League goal of the season, man of the match, and leads 2-1 win over West Ham. Tyler Adams got his first goal in the Premier League in Bournemouth's 3-1 loss to Manchester City. And we talked about Max Arston with Chris Doran. In Philadelphia, the match against Paraguay, homecoming for Aronson, Freese, McKenzie, and Trusty, who all came through the academy there. Aronson, Freese, and McKenzie, part of the Shield winning side in 2020. Freese made his only start of the season on the final match day of the year. And you have all those folks that are chasing trophies. Roster notes, average age of 25 years, 274 days. 25-player squad also averages 22 caps. 14 players returned from the squad that took place in October. 78 caps. Ream is the most experienced player on the roster. 11 players come from MLS, 14 from England. You have 14 come from leagues in England, France, Germany, Netherlands, Italy, and Scotland. Pepe and Trusty will each make their first camp appearances of the year. Reyna and Scally return to camp for the first time since CONCACAF Nations League finals in March. Sean Zawatsky will seek his first international appearance since his debut January 20th of last year against Slovenia. John Tolkien back in camp for the first time since Gold Cup. It is September attendees Adams, Berhalter, Celentano, Dest, and Klinsmann all return after missing out last month. Balogun and Pepe scoring goals in Champions League. We talked about that. Pepe, we talked about that. Pepe and Balogun, Dest also saw action in Champions League. 9 players still involved in the playoffs. I mentioned Arston and Roldan and Berhalter at age 21. Alex Freeman voted 2025 MLS Young Player of the Year last week. Bradley Carnell was named Coach of the Year this morning while we were talking about everything else going on in the MLS Cup playoffs. 21 players took part in the USDA, 16 coming through MLS Academy ranks. And so that's where we are. So that's your November camp. And obviously you stare at the Gio Reyna name, and that's the one that you're looking at. And so you had a couple of regulars that were not on the roster: Pulisic, McKinney, Tim Weah, Chris Richards, Malik Tillman, Anthony Robinson, not on the roster. Most managing, and this is from Paul Tenorio at The Athletic, most are managing, recovering from or sidelined by injuries, and McKinney being healthy. So USMNT Paraguay, November 15 in Philly. USMNT Uruguay, November 18 in Tampa. And Johnny and Matt Turner and Yunus Musa also left off the 25-man squad that's going to gather in Philadelphia next week. Reyna back for the first time since March, hasn't started since 2024 Copa America, has only played sparingly for Dortmund and now Mönchengladbach, but he gets another look at the national team. Scally returns for the first time since March, losses to Panama and Canada. And I'm trying to see if there is anything else in the squad notation. Just the 4 keepers. That's what gets to me. 4 keepers in for 2 matches. I don't know what the rationale is there, unless you really just want to give folks a lot of looks. And apparently, Oliver Glasner and Mauricio Pochettino are getting into a bit of a back and forth over the usage of Chris Richards. So there's another reason, perhaps, why Chris Richards was not available, considering that they are in season. Your fullbacks, once again, with Jedi Robinson still ailing, looking at deeper into the pool for solutions. With your center backs, once again, Glasner complained the U.S. team didn't talk to us in October about a calf ailment that Richards had been struggling with for many weeks, in quotation marks. So Richards' playing time contradicted Glasner's accusation, according to Tenorio. Played 90 minutes in all 4 Palaces games leading into the October window. Now he is dealing with a calf injury, so no surprises there. Central midfielders, you have 6. And once again, Johnny, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa aren't even in the squad. So you're probably looking at a lot of midfield involvement in these 2 matches. So that's what you're staring at there. Aronson, Luna, and Reyna. So Reyna's only logged 134 minutes for Gladbach this season, has not contributed to a goal in any competitive soccer match since January. And so now I guess this is one of those opportunities. All right, so this might be the put up / shut up for Gio Reyna. Maxime Crépeau, Kamal Miller were called up to the Canadian men's national team for the November window for friendlies against Ecuador and Venezuela on the 13th and the 18th. That news is coming out from Portland very, very early this morning. And if you missed it, Tata posted a very, very quick 10-second message on the social medias in discussing how he wants to, so he is giving all of you a big hug, giving all of us a big hug going forward. So there you go. Abby, every keeper is going to play 45. Yeah, it's like, hold up the banners. We got a keeper change, something like that. So that is where we are. Let me see if there's anything else that I've missed. Once again, remember, for those of you who are just listening this morning, Tata Martino, 2-year deal. He returns. The contract is through the 27 season. Obviously, he and Chris Henderson, he reports to Chris Henderson. And at noon, 35 minutes from now, Mike and Jason on YouTube, a special edition of Atlanta Soccer Tonight for lunch. So go to YouTube and you can catch their conversation coming up in about 35 minutes, breaking down everything with Tata Martino and their thoughts on where Atlanta United goes from here and the build and the assignment that Tata Martino and his staff and Chris Henderson and his staff that they have going forward here, that the writ and the mandate. The writ and the mandate for 25 going into 26 and the 26 and 27 seasons. So that is what Atlanta United is now tasked with, and that is the homework assignment. Going for 2 months before you go into training camp, and then the 26 season and the 27 season. So we'll see how things continue to grow and evolve here as we go. It looks like Belgium and Fiji are in the 83rd minute in the U17s. They're playing 10v10. Belgium is up 6-0. And what else has happened this morning? Italy over Bolivia 4-0. Portugal 6-0 over Morocco. Full-time Japan, New Caledonia. That's a good point for New Caledonia. Goalless draw. Argentina 1-0 over Tunisia. And then once again, a handful of minutes to go. Belgium leading Fiji. And Croatia leading the UAE in the 52nd minute 2-0. Qatar and South Africa tied at 1 in the 37th. Senegal 1-0 over Costa Rica. That one is in the 37th minute as well. Action in the U17s picks back up at 7:30 tomorrow morning on FS2, Peacock, Telemundo, and Choice D, all of the above. Let's get into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Obviously, once again, at the top of the hour, you've got to watch Mike and Jason on the YouTubes for Atlanta Soccer Tonight in the daytime. And they're going to break down the hiring of Tata Martino returning to Atlanta United. CBS Sports Network, 12:45, has a doubleheader in Europa League, Sturm Graz, Forest, Rangers, and Roma. It is a Paramount Plus, has every Conference League game and Europa League game available to you at 12:45 and 3. And then League One, Reading and Stevenage also at 3 o'clock. And also, if your favorite college team is in a semifinal or a final, follow along on your social medias and track those down. Most of those are either on conference networks or on ESPN Plus. So keep an eye out for all of that. Let me see if there's any other stories that are out there that we might have missed. It looks like Thomas Tuchel is calling in Jude Bellingham for this England squad left out in October after an injury return. And March is the only other England camp before the World Cup. So that is what England is looking at, with the return of Jude Bellingham being called into the squad by Thomas Tuchel. And let's see, it looks like Middlesbrough's Rob Edwards is being targeted to fill the vacancy at Wolves. If I was anywhere close to Rob Edwards, I would say no, don't do it. Stay where you are. Don't go to Wolves. Just don't. Don't do it. Just say no. So that's kind of where that's where that one is. Just don't. Rob Edwards, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like I said, I'm trying to check the papers really quickly, see if there's anything else that I might have missed in addition to the breaking news that happened. Yes, 10 minutes before the show tomorrow, Ricky's going to be landing. Yes, so please attempt to say hello. Absolutely, please do. Just safe travels heading over there, Ricky, and let us know what you find. Obviously, that'd be very, very cool. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else news-wise that might have been made. Okay, Crystal Palace got charged. We talked about that yesterday. I think we're in good shape. I think we are. All right. So once again, top of the hour, it is Mike and Jason, and they are breaking down the return of Tata Martino to Atlanta United as the coach for the 26 and the 27 season. That's the current contract as it stands. And like I said, we went into the challenges of the roster and how the roster breaks down. Homework assignments out there in front of you. Tata Martino is coming to town. He and Chris Henderson know that this current exam is going to be a very, very difficult one. You can't just use Cliff's notes to get prepared for it. So their work starts now. Mike and Jason will talk about it on Atlanta Soccer Tonight this afternoon. And we'll have, obviously, more coverage of it tomorrow. Tomorrow, once again, Lucas Panzica talking Nashville and Messi and friends. Catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, hopefully. Kalen Carr joining us from Apple TV Major League Soccer. Will Pelagic, play-by-play voice of Charlotte, joining us as well when it comes to his playoff series with NYC. So we've gone the extra 25 minutes because there was a lot to talk about and a lot to digest and a lot to compute with the return of Tata Martino for Atlanta United. Once again, noon Eastern. Mike and Jason, Atlanta Soccer Tonight this afternoon on the YouTubes, and obviously we'll talk about it again tomorrow with all of our guests and everything as we get ready for the weekend. So thanks for hanging out with us as long as you do every single day here on SDH AM. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks to Niko Moreno. Thanks to Nino Torres. Thanks to Chris Doran to give us the intel on Columbus. Thanks to all of you as always. Back at it again in a little less than 22. Well, it's more like 21 and almost 21 and a half hours now at this point. So back at it again, 9:05 Eastern. Another full Friday, getting ready for playoffs. Talk more about Tata, Atlanta United, all the things. It's going to be 9:05 tomorrow morning. Once again, make sure your seatbelts are fastened. Seat is up. Tray tables are in the upright and locked positions as well. It's going to be an interesting flight between now and the beginning of the 26th season. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. Since it's the end of the show, means I get to do this. Safe travels to everybody. See you tomorrow.